if we could please do roll call.
Councilmember Holliber.
Present.
Councilmember Fung.
Here.
Councilmember Pappen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Oliva.
Here.
Mayor Snyder.
Here.
All council members are present.
All right, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Next time I will call somebody to do pledge, but for today, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And we will begin tonight with ceremonial presentations. I need to pull up the proclamation. So if, while we're waiting for that, if we could get Katie Nolan-Staveau on hand, I believe she is accepting tonight's proclamation. And I'll be back with you in a second. Thank you, Elaine. All right. Whereas Black History Month is celebrated each February and was originated by the Association for the Study of Negro Life and Society, founded in 1915 by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, an African-American historian, author, and journalist. And whereas it was Dr. Carter Woodson who initiated Black History Week in 1926, and in 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded and became established as Black History Month and is now celebrated all across the United States. And whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas Black History Month affords special opportunity to become more knowledgeable about Black heritage and to honor the many Black leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation. And whereas Black and African American communities have made valuable and lasting contributions in the history of the United States, and whereas the city of Millbrae honors the rich legacy of African Americans who faced generations of racism, discrimination, and unjust working and living conditions. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to our democratic ideas. And whereas Black History Month recognizes the important sacrifices and contributions of Black people to the development of the United States and the world. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2021 as Black History Month. And yay. But Katie, I am Zoomingly handing this proclamation off to Katie Nolan-Staveau, a Millbrae resident and member of the Millbrae Anti-Racist Coalition. Katie, do you have words that you'd like to share with us?
So on behalf of Katie, thank you, Mayor Snyder. I'm Amy Lauer, so I will be
Amy.
Yeah, I will be accepting on behalf of Katie and the whole Millbrae ARC coalition. And so we thank you so much, Council, for commemorating Black History Month. And I did want to let you know that we're doing some awareness activations, really featuring on Black American sheroes and heroes throughout the month of February. We have materials we're very happy to send out. We have about 65 profiles that we've gathered, a working document. Everyone can add to it if they like. And we've taken 28 of those that will be featured in campaigns that we are pushing out on social media, to our groups on Nextdoor, through email, Instagram, Facebook, the patch, as well as circulating these profiles to our high schools through their ethnic studies class and asking principals to make announcements throughout the month of February. Also, we're getting the incredible support of MCTV, who will be featuring about 10 of youth from our community talking about their favorite sheroes and heroes. I actually did a lot of the research on my own and learned a tremendous amount. I felt like I was in Black American History Month 101 and learned that for centuries, we've had incredible contributions across every field, from the arts to science, medicine, aeronautics, music, of course, jazz, Motown, things that have affected many of our lives in positive ways. And many military heroes who actually have faced discrimination throughout their entire careers, and of course, many sports stars whom we know. So yeah, my eyes have been awakened, and I really do appreciate the proclamation. And I can send the shared Google Docs and slides to Elaine in case the council is interested in getting access to any of that information, either to read or to share. Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any council comments?
Mary Ann, it's Michael Kelly, I'm Amy's husband. Just wanted to thank you again for the opportunity for you and City Manager Tom Williams. We've donated another banner that we're hoping the City of Millbrae and the council will rise up at the city building. It replaces the one that was stolen last time that we donated. It's this basic message: Black Lives Matter in Millbrae. If you go to millbraearc.com, you'll see the banner on our new website. And we really appreciate you, the support. You put it up once before. Unfortunately, it was taken down by somebody who didn't agree with racial equality. So we're hoping you can mount it a little bit higher and out of the reach of that type of person that doesn't agree with our shared values. And we thank you very much. Again, you can see the banner at millbraearc.com. Thank you so much.
Very good. Amy, thank you. And Amy, for the public, is also a former member of our Economic Vitality Committee and now a committee member. We can't use the term commissioner of our Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. So thank you. Katie, I have been doing some of my own reading, and I have a couple of additions to add in terms of the culinary history and gardening history are two that I'm looking at that fit in with another one of my interests. So if the public has more heroes and sheroes that they would like to recommend, how would they do that?
That's an excellent question. Of course, they can always email millbraearc@gmail.com. And we're happy to share our Google document with anyone who wants access. We'll just send the document and people can just add either the names or a profile with a picture.
And I don't think Councilwoman Pappen, I'm putting her on the spot a little bit, but we have talked at past council meetings about the new Harriet Tubman Way, and I believe you're the lead for that. Would you like to say anything?
Sure, Madam Mayor. So the BART board, it was an idea I presented to ARC, and they wholeheartedly agreed, as did the council. And the BART board also passed a resolution so that when the new development occurs, they will be renaming the street at the BART development, Harriet Tubman Way. Oh, there you go. Very good. Michael's got money going there. You know, we hope sometime in the future when there is an underground high-speed rail station that too will be named after Harriet Tubman. That's a work in progress.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Councilwoman. I especially love the symbolism of the Underground Railroad. It is absolutely perfect for Millbrae, so it's lovely to have that. I had one loss. I lost the thought. I thank you. Oh, we are currently working on International Women's Day, which happens in March. And golly, coincidentally, a Black woman, an Asian American woman, broke the glass ceiling to the presidency and the vice presidency. So she will be honored in our commendation along with other women in March for our International History, Women's History Day. So I think all the pieces are coming together. So I thank you all, and I thank ARC. And as we continue to work the city of Millbrae to become, you're going to have to help me with the language. I don't know, colorblind is not really the right thing, but as we have justice for all.
Anti-racist.
There we go. Well, thank you. No further comments from council? All right, thank you very much. Yay. All right, next up, it is my honor to introduce my friend, Sarah Marie Johnson. She's the Executive Director of Millbrae Television. And Millbrae Television, as most of us know, is such a terrific community partner, not just with the city of Millbrae, but with the entire community. And Sarah, I believe you've got a tape that Elaine is going to queue up, but you wanted to say some words beforehand. Please take the floor.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to see everybody. I'll just be short and sweet. So February is Black History Month, and MCTV is partnering up with Millbrae ARC, and we're going to produce the limited video series for Black History Month for teens, local Millbrae teens, that features their heroes and sheroes. We'll be rolling those clips out on social media starting February 1st. So make sure to follow us and ARC. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, MCTV, Millbrae Community Television, Instagram. We are MCTV_Millbrae, and subscribe to our YouTube channel because everything we post, you'll get a notification. Also, on February 3rd, we have Man on the Street. We're going to be on the corner of Starbucks. You can record your Lunar New Year message for the Millbrae Cultural Committee virtual Lunar New Year that we are helping them with. And it's going to be on February 13th at 10:30 in the morning. You can watch it on mctv.tv or Comcast 27 or AT&T channel 99. Also, February 21st is the Rotary. They're hosting their Lunar New Year banquet virtually. We're producing a little chef special spot. So if you are part of the Rotary, tune in for that. That should be pretty cool. And then the 22nd through the 27th of February, MEF is hosting their Fund the Future, and we're going to help out with that. So make sure and follow them and donate to all these great causes that we have coming up.
Excellent. With that, Elaine, are you going to take us to the video? Very good. Elaine, do we have sound?
Go ahead and stop.
I don't know if I'm the only one without sound, Elaine. We love Zoom.
I have sound. If I could touch on this. This is a spot that
COVID-19.
we
Dear
produced.
Millbrae residents, business
Sarah,
owners,
I think it just
and
came
those
on
who
board.
live in our city. As you know, COVID-19, which is also known as the coronavirus, has swept across the world and has hit the Bay Area and San Mateo County.
One issue at this point in time is still the availability of testing, and the county is working on that as quickly as possible.
The question is, how will we respond in a second wave and be better prepared for it? There's planning for underserved populations and equity, which includes the homeless.
Thank you, essential workers. I am only an ally, and today, our role as allies is to amplify Black voices.
2014. Eric Garner, 27, Staten Island, New York, 2014. Errol Chang, 34, Pacifica, California, 2014.
Also, just want to also recognize our, I mean, we're all people, and we should be dedicating ourselves to keeping everybody safe, fighting the virus, rather than turning on each other.
The city council is present. But tonight, their role is simply to listen. Also present tonight is our police chief from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, Mr. Paul Kunkel. And as we get started, there are 4 members of the Millbrae community that have offered to share their stories and set the stage for others to share theirs.
Try to let other skaters get a turn. Don't keep an obstacle all to yourself. There's yellow markers around the park that indicate 6 feet. And stay safe. Thank you.
Class, I was thinking to paint like this painting because I feel like it's like a sign to show like everyone be themselves because everyone is unique.
I really like art. Here is one of my pictures I drew.
First time voting for Millbrae.
I just want to say, wow, I see that and it reminds me of what an amazing community we have, that everybody steps up, steps together. It's been a very difficult year, but truly every person in Millbrae, it just makes me proud. So thank you for that, Sarah. I do have one other thing. Sarah and MCTV do so much work. I don't know if people can see these. They do so much work to help all of our community groups be represented and to fundraise. They are one of our very own nonprofit organizations in Millbrae. They are also a nonprofit. These are actually, Sarah, they were too pretty to turn into hot chocolate. MCTV through Sarah had a chocolatier create these very special little, you drop it in milk or water and it creates hot cocoa. So we bought 2 packets of them along with 2 Sequoia giganteas, the redwood trees from the Sierras. And I am hoping someday we will have a memorial grove and we will donate our 2 trees to Millbrae's Memorial Grove. But anyone out there who has had MCTV help them to appreciate that we have our very own media company, go to mctv.tv and please donate to MCTV. These things truly are just gorgeous and they will get turned into hot cocoa now that the rain has come. So my thanks. I'm sure the City Council, I see hands are raised. So Elaine, I see Councilwoman Pappen and then former Mayor Wayne Lee, please. If you could, Gina, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Being the liaison for Millbrae TV, I just want to point out that they have been a link to our community during COVID for so many different events. The graduations that we did, the parade, everything social distancing. So the hard work and effort of the entire staff, and I know they contract with other cities too, but it has really been a very cherished connection with the community. And Millbrae Television is so important to so many people. And as the mayor noted, they are currently fundraising as well because contracts are slow and they need to stay alive too. So I encourage everybody to please help support them and thank you for all you do.
And enjoy your hot chocolate. Elaine, could you please let the public in?
Hello.
Hello, former
Hi,
Mayor Lee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just also wanted to chime in and just congratulate MCTV and thank you for your many hours of work. And I know you do it on shoestring budget, but you have a huge impact on our community. And particularly, I just want to thank you for you and Annie, Sarah, for taking the time to go to Martin Yang's office to video the census public service announcements. And that was huge. And I think that was just some of the examples that the MCTV provides. Not only that, but they also show up to many community events and just provide their technical expertise. And they also always at the Art and Wine Festival. So they do a tremendous amount of work with very little staff. So I think they deserve some support. Thank you.
Thank you, former Mayor Lee. I don't see any other hands raised. With that, Sarah, Ann, Matthew, everyone from MCTV, I am grateful. We're grateful. We look forward to another year, and someday, maybe by the end of this year, we'll actually all get to be together. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Very good. Okay, next on the agenda, our city manager is going to talk about a new program we have here in the city of Millbrae. Please go ahead, Tom.
You're muted, Tom.
All right, I'm on mute. So thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Again, Tom Williams, City Manager. Yes, we've rolled out a program this year in 2020 that recognizes our employees and those employees that showed outstanding performance. And again, this is a new program that we've rolled out. We'll continue annually. And as Sarah shared with us on the great video MCTV put together, obviously the most trying year in all of our lifetime. And our city staff stepped up. We kept services going. We kept streets paved, parks maintained, water and sewer systems moving, police and fire, innovative recreation programs. And so all of our staff came together to keep City Hall moving. And this recognition program that we've rolled out includes 4 awards: Rising Star, Creative Innovator, Department MVPs for each of our departments: Administration, Community Development, Finance, Public Works, and Recreation, and then our Employee of the Year. Real quick, the Rising Star Award is an emerging employee that has 3 years of service or less with the city and who's demonstrated significant and exceptional growth within the city. The Creative Innovator Award is someone that provides innovative solutions, cost-effective solutions, doing more with less to improve the efficiency and effectiveness within the organization. The department MVPs kind of speaks for itself. These are the most valuable employees recognized by each of the departments, their peers, colleagues, and department heads that exhibit great performance and leadership. And then, of course, we have the Employee of the Year that encapsulates all of these great traits, that shows tremendous leadership and rose to the occasion and is deserving of recognition of the Employee of the Year. So our Rising Star is from our Public Works Department, Mr. Nick Tippins. He works in our water system. He's the guy that on nights like tonight, when it rains and there's a water break, it's him that's out there in the trenches, stopping the water break and keeping things flowing for the city. Our Creative Innovator, Dominic Zertucci. You probably, if you spend any time in City Hall, you know Dominic. He can build just about anything. He can make parts. He can be very innovative in terms of keeping the doors open, keeping our systems moving, and shows great innovation within the city to keep, like I said, things moving and the doors open. Our department MVPs for each department in administration: Elaine Tran, our city clerk. She's done a phenomenal job stepping into some big shoes to fill as our city clerk. Community Development Department is our planning manager, Roscoe Mata. Roscoe has stepped in, took on some interim department head roles as we've transitioned, and has shown just terrific leadership as well as his knowledge of the planning process. In our finance department, it's our financial services manager, Wayne Liu. Wayne is behind the scenes, keeping everything moving financially. We did a large transfer of our payroll and timekeeping systems to ADP. Wayne project managed and led that effort and did show outstanding leadership. In Public Works, John Giannoli He is our public works supervisor, and anybody that drives around the city will see John on a daily basis, starting about 5:30 in the morning till 9, 10 o'clock at night, maintaining our city parks, our rights of way. And John, just anybody that knows John knows that he's deserving of an MVP award in public works. And then in recreation is our recreation coordinator, Hannah Moran. And Hannah joined us a few years ago, and Hannah's helped with our outdoor movies, a lot of our innovative recreation programs, Mr. and Mrs. Claus, our outdoor recreation that we started last summer during the pandemic to keep activities moving for our youth and our seniors throughout the year. And then lastly, our employee of the year is from our finance department, our accounting technician. She's been with the city for over 17 years, and that's Amalia Pena. And I will turn it over to our finance director, Mr. Mike Sung, to share the performance of Amalia. So Mike?
Thank you, City Manager Williams. Amalia is truly an example of an exemplary employee. She is not only compassionate and patient, but she's proactive and thorough. Amalia does go above and beyond, and just one such example is her analysis of residential water usage. She will often call the residents to let them know if she notices a large deviation from their normal usage. What this usually indicates is that there's a leak on their end, and ultimately this saves them a lot of money in the long run. She also responds to inquiries and calls in a calm and consistent and respectful manner, and listens and then answers questions from ratepayers within the water and sewer utilities. She treats both staff and customers with kindness and a smile. Recently, she was integral in the census project, and she's coordinated with our financial management system provider, IT support, and maintenance workers to complete the project. She is a critical member of finance and was invaluable in the implementation of the utility software. She will be the subject matter expert for the upcoming e-utilities implementation with online credit card charges coming soon. She's also stepped up and assisted the department with payroll duties when the senior accounting technician unexpectedly had left as well. So I'd truly like to acknowledge Amalia, one of our great employees, and thank you, Amalia, for all your service.
And Mayor, Council, Amalia will not be joining us tonight, just Zoom meetings and stuff, but I'd like to just recognize the hard work of not only all of our employees, but these employees that we've recognized this year and will continue this employee recognition program that we've rolled out this year. So I'm just thankful that I've been able to surround myself with such great people as a city manager here. And I thank everyone for their great work and effort. So that is it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager, and thank you to all of our staff and the people being recognized tonight. I'm a former government employee myself, and I know sometimes the public can be a little rough on our employees. I've heard, especially public works, recreation people who are out in the field. But sometimes that's just because you're the first person they've come across and they're having a bad day. And you take that and you keep on smiling, and you've kept the city going through as you're out in the field in contact with the public, as we didn't know how COVID was spreading and as we put in more precautions. So I am grateful to all of you and for all the work that you have done to keep the city going. In my field in solid waste or in sewer treatment plant, there are workers around the country who have died of COVID. And I want the public to understand that all of our government employees have been out in contact with the public during the pandemic. And at times that's been very scary. So I thank you. I thank all of you for that. Council, any council comments?
I'd like to say something, Mayor,
Please go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I just want to say that if I was there, I would get up and shake everybody's hand. I'm really super missing that. And I am so grateful for the staff and more grateful that they're recognized. So thank you for the leadership from the top down and the bottom up. I'm proud to be part of the team. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you. Councilman Holliver.
Yes, I just would like to echo those comments. Congratulations to all of the winners. Very terrific job that everyone's done. And thank you also to staff for, I believe this is the first year we've done this program. So thank you for honoring the employees that really keep the city moving.
Thank you. Councilman Fung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that, all the things that has been said earlier, I wholly agree with that. Also, I just wanted to say every time I drive by to the City Hall late in the evening, after 6, after 7, I always see somebody there, with a light on, and just knowing that how much work they have put in, the extra time that they put in. We're living through this COVID time when we have budget that is unpredictable. And everybody has to do more with less, and everybody is so dedicated at their job. It's just, it's very heartwarming to see that everyone at the City Hall working so hard for all of our people here at Millbrae, and also commend the top management, recognizing every employee for their dedicated service, and putting in these programs to continue to reward and boost the morale of our employees, which is excellent work. Thank you so very much, everybody.
Thank you, Councilman Fung. Councilman Pappen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Pappen, my apologies.
Okay. I want to reiterate what Councilmember Fung just said too. This whole city runs on a lot of hard work and effort from our city employees. I want to thank everyone who works for the city. I also want to thank Tom for highlighting and really helping the city residents see what our employees do and adding to the morale, because these are all really hard times, and keeping everybody together is really important. So thank you, everyone. And congratulations to this year's winners. We look forward to next year's as well. Thank you so much.
Excellent. City Manager, any parting words?
No, just in person. And we just don't leave the lights on because our lights turn off automatically if nobody's in the office. So somebody is actually really in the office. So no, I appreciate all the kind words, and our staff works hard. We are doing more with less, and we're here to serve, and we have a great community. Our residents, business owners are fantastic, and it's a pleasure to be a public servant for the city of Millbrae. So
Excellent.
Thank you.
And to staff who may hear this, we are grateful to all of you. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda overview.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Again, Tom Williams. Moving on to review the agenda this evening. We have our calendar of events and reports and bills and claims, which are standard items on every agenda that are attached to your packet. We have the approval of the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of September 22nd, 2020. We have no oral reports from any committee or commission chairs this evening. After that, we have public communication. This item is for anyone in the public that wishes to address the City Council on any item not on the agenda. The comments are limited to 3 minutes. Then we move to the consent calendar. There are 2 items on the consent calendar this evening. Item number 5 is to receive and file the monthly general fund financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2020. That's our mid-year point. The city's on a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th. Item number 6 is to consider a resolution awarding a professional services agreement to Lee and Rowe Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $199,009 for design services for the cogeneration system replacement project at the sewer treatment plant. We have no public hearings this evening, so we move to existing business. Item number 7 on existing business is to consider adoption of a resolution approving the refunding of the 2009 Series A and B wastewater certificates of participation and the 2009 State Water Resources Control Board loan, which is part of the state revolving fund loan by the Millbrae Public Financing Authority in the maximum principal amount of $28 million. Item number 8 under existing business is the introduction of an ordinance repealing chapter 6.40 of the city's municipal code and adopting a new chapter 6.40 regulating the use of disposable foodware service ware, cups, paper, plates, etc. For each facility or for each business within the city of Millbrae. So this would be introducing the ordinance, and waiving the first reading. And the second reading would be in 2 weeks. Under new business, item number 9 is an informational report on Senate Bill 1383, which involves reducing short-lived climate pollutants in California. And again, this is an informational item. Item number 10 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a program supplemental agreement and to administer the agency state agreement for state funding, a grant fund for citywide safety assessment for our local roads. Item number 11 is to consider adoption of a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works to sign a transportation funds for clean air grants and pedestrian bulb out and crosswalk improvement projects for Millbrae Avenue, Poplar Avenue, and Helen Drive and Tioga Drive. So that concludes the agenda, business agenda. Then there are council comments where each council member reports on subcommittee and committee and commission items, and then move to adjournment. I will note that there's no reportable action coming out of the closed session of the City Council earlier this evening.
City Manager, were you also going to talk a little bit about how we're inviting people to the Mayor's Coordinating Council?
Yes, so the next item on the agenda is just a quick update and report of the City Council. We do have, before I get there, we do have commission and committee vacancies. So any member of the public that would like to help shape the future of Millbrae and participate in local government, we are accepting application from residents who wish to serve on one of our Millbrae commissions and committees. The information can be found on the city's website, and contacting the city clerk. Her contact information can also be found on our website. That telephone number for the city clerk is 650-259-2414, and her email is etran@ci.millbrae.ca.us. And again, people that are interested could log into our website to get information. So we encourage participation and signing up and applying for one of our committee and commissions. Also, the AARP has their annual free tax assistance programs that anyone 50 years or older or who has low to moderate income are available for free tax preparation and assistance. Appointments are available from 9 a.m. to 12, and then from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. every Wednesday between the February 10th and April 7th. The telephone number, if anybody's interested, is 650-270-6022, and we'll also have information on our website. So that's free tax assistance that's available. Also, PG&E did begin replacing their pipelines along Hillcrest. The work began last week, and they're upgrading their distribution lines on Hillcrest Avenue between Laurel and Hazel. So this will impact residents on Laurel between Taylor and Hillcrest, Ashton north of Hillcrest, Hemlock Avenue from Hillcrest north to the end of Hemlock. And the project is expected to conclude by the end of April. PG&E does a good job notifying, either calling or emailing residents and providing notices. So watch for those notices. And if you do have any problems, either contact PG&E directly or contact our Public Works assistance line, which is also available on our website. And then as the mayor had mentioned, the Mayor's Coordinating Council, which includes a monthly meeting with the mayor. We are just seeking any other community group that may be out there that's not involved to contact Elaine Tran, our city clerk, that would be interested in participating in the Mayor's Coordinating Council meeting once a month. So that concludes my brief update, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. With that, moving to approval of minutes. Are there comments on the minutes? I believe there's one set of comments and then a motion to approve.
That is correct, Mayor. I did receive some corrections from Councilmember Holliver. There's two corrections. One is on page 4, where we would be changing one sentence to Mayor Holliver responded, according to state law, the city cannot limit below 3 housing units on a single family lot. On page 5, under council comments, we will be revising the sentence to commute.org met last week and the high-speed rail EIR was discussed. So those will be the 2 correction, and I've checked the video and it is definitely correct. So I will make those corrections.
Excellent. Thank you, City Clerk. Were there any other changes by council? I don't see any hands raised. Can I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Was that Ruben?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Holliber moves. Second.
Pappen, second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Pappen. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holliber.
Aye.
Councilmember Fung.
Abstain.
Okay. Councilmember Pappen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Leva.
Aye.
Mayor Snyder.
Aye.
The meeting minutes for the regular meeting of September 22nd, 2020 is approved by the vote of 4-0 to 1 with Councilmember Fung abstained.
Just a point of order. Apparently the rules of abstaining when you're not in person or not at that meeting have adjusted over the years, and other regional committees that I'm on, you are allowed to vote, especially if it's needed for quorum, even if you were not in attendance. So maybe not tonight, but if whatever the city's practice could be, if that could be communicated.
Will do, Mayor.
Thank you.
What you said is correct.
So it's perfectly okay to abstain, but the rules keep changing on that.
Yeah.
All right.
Through the chair.
Yes, please.
I don't think there's any prohibition on, I don't think there's any requirement to abstain, but you're welcome to abstain or you're welcome to vote. It's just a personal preference.
I agree, Councilman Holliber. I just know that when I'm at Peninsula Clean Energy or one of the other committees, maybe emergency services, where quorum is often really tight, then they need you to vote even if you have not been in attendance at that meeting. So it just kind of depends on the quorum issue at a meeting, I think, when it becomes important. Okay. As the city manager said, there are, oh, Elaine, did I give you a chance to report out?
I did call.
Okay.
I did call the action. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and do it. I did say with correction, right? So I just want to say I'll do it just in case. The meeting minutes for the regular meeting of September 22nd is approved by the vote of 4-0, 1 with Councilmember Fung abstained with corrections.
Very good. Thank you, City Clerk. There are no oral reports from committees or commission chairs. This is the time for public communication. To the public, we welcome you. It's helpful to know where you might live in Millbrae, your street, if nothing else, but you are not required. And these are for items that are not later in the agenda. City Clerk, do we have public members who want to? I see 1, 2, 3. City Clerk, please call 2. Go ahead, Elaine, if you could please let them in.
Would you like to provide a name that we can unmute? Could you see the screen and call? Do you have a name for me or?
Oh yeah. Hi, good evening. I'm Alice Kwong, living in 1086 Clearfield Drive. And happy New Year, everybody. And I'm today, now first I'm presenting MCC, Millbrae Culture Committee, 文化交流協會. We are going to have a Chinese New Year lunar celebration on February 13, 10:30 at Cable 27, also MCTV. So we just want to welcome everybody going to enjoy our programs. And the second, and I just want a little bit comment about, in the past year, it's very difficult. I think we are also learning and facing all the different challenges. But the bottom line is, I all agree today. We also acknowledge city staff under our council's leadership and Tom Williams' leadership, and drive the city in the good order and maintain everything and continue work and protect our community. That's feel very thankful from my heart. Thank you very much. And MCTV also, due to that, and raise money and also showing our community support and buying lunch to support the staff. So I thought we are a small community and we also need work together and support each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kwong.
Thank you.
So the next speaker is Yin Hua.
Hi, everyone. This is Nianhua Chen, the president of Millbrae Culture Committee. I want to chime in just what Alice said. I would like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to come to join our 3rd annual Lunar New Year virtual celebration on February 13th. And this year's celebration, due to the COVID-19, is modified to online stream and the live on Millbrae MCTV channel. We really appreciate MCTV's support. And so this year's event will provide an enriching experience for arts professionals, cultural organizations, as well as everyone who are isolated at home since COVID-19 continues to spread. And this year we are honored to have Mayor Schneider to be our Grand Marshal. And so far we have received many performance videos and wishing message videos from our residents, community agencies, and the schools by the due date. So the program will be extended from 1 hour to 2 hours due to the overwhelming response. And although we cannot have a parade and the street fairs this year, we still want to bring joy and happinesses by offering the wonderful program to our community and celebrate the Year of Ox together. So thank you for your support, and please help us make announcement of this event in the city website, and people from other cities can also participate and share in our community's common value and culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chen. And it was really fun getting to be taped by MCTV yesterday. It's always a little frightening to have a camera in front of your face in that environment. So I will miss the parade, but I am looking forward.
Madam Mayor, I hate to jump in here.
Oh, I can't comment. I'm
yes,
sorry. That's right. I can't comment.
Can't get into
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. All right. Our 3rd public speaker.
It is Ron Raquel. Mr. Raquel?
Hi, my name is Ron Raquel. I live at 193 Willow in Millbrae. There's a disturbing trend by our residential area by the Methodist Church. There is a homeless person that's been camping out there during the nighttime, sleeping on the benches. And a couple of weeks ago on our block, he was walking up and down the streets, canvassing houses, and looked like there were security cameras that caught him stalking houses. And it's a little unnerving. As I had mentioned before, I thought the city, through my wife, said that they should work with some security company like Ring or whatever to contract with them to have security cameras, so if the police can't cover the whole area, we have proof, and maybe they can help the police department curb crime. It's an unfortunate situation. I'm not condemning him, but my wife did contact the sheriff's department, and they've had history with this particular individual, and he's back again. So I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but it is an unfortunate situation that we are all experiencing, but it needs to be brought to everyone's attention that Millbrae is no different, and it's a little unnerving considering this is somewhat of an affluent neighborhood. We're getting homeless people sleeping in our neighborhood. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raquel. Any further, do you see any other hands up, Elaine?
I do not.
Okay. With that, we'll
Madam
close.
Mayor, sorry, if I can just jump in here real quick.
Please.
For the benefit of all the public, the reason why we can't comment is we're regulated by state law. And if it's not an item on the agenda, the city council cannot address the issue or the subject. So that's the reason why public comment council cannot address the issue. But I would say that if you ever do see an emergency, please call 911 and the sheriff will respond.
Thank you, City Manager. Okay, with that, closing public communication, moving to consent calendar. I haven't been told ahead of time that anyone wanted anything pulled from consent calendar. City Clerk, is there any comments from the public on an item on consent?
I did not receive any comments for consent.
Okay, with that, could I have
Move
a motion?
approval.
Oh,
Move approval, Pappen.
thank you, Gina. Thank you,
Fong
Councilwoman
second.
Pappen.
Go ahead.
And that
Second
was
by Fong.
Councilman Fung.
Yes, please.
Ms. Tran, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Oliver,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Councilmember Pappen,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Oliva,
Aye.
Mayor Snyder.
Aye.
Okay, consent items 5 and 6 pass by a vote of 5-0.
I have one comment on agenda item 6. Just thank you, staff, for moving ahead to get a term that we're going to hear a lot of in the future is shovel-ready projects. So with the completion of this agenda item, we should be in good position to go out and solicit grant funding. So thank you for staff for that. It's a critical climate change action. All right, public hearing. There is no public hearing tonight. With that, City Manager, do you have staff making a presentation on agenda item number 7, adopting resolutions, refunding a series of bonds and loans for actions at the Water Pollution Control Plant?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, I'd like to introduce our Finance Director, Mr. Mike Sun, for a presentation.
Thank you, City Manager Williams. Let me go ahead and queue up the slides. Let's see. So tonight, Honorable Mayor and City Council, tonight we're coming back to you to ask for approval on the new 2021 wastewater bonds. Back in October, we had asked, staff had requested permission to begin the process for refunding. Just as a little background, what we're looking at are the Series A and Series B 2009 COPs, which are certificates of participation, a financing mechanism. The Millbrae Financing Authority issued about $5.56 million of Series A COPs back in 2009. We also issued about $10.25 million for Series B. And also in 2009, the City of Millbrae entered into a loan agreement with the State Water Resources Control Board to fund the water pollution control plant renovation project. So currently the total outstanding principal is about $27.5 million for both the COPs and the SRF loan combined. Staff has since October completed the necessary steps, including due diligence and meeting with the rating agency, and is now recommending approval for the refunding. So why are we doing this now? Well, we couldn't actually refund the COPs earlier. We had to wait at least 10 years after 2009. The callable option didn't exist until late 2019. And the COPs now can be refunded, and interest rates are at near historic lows. So this is a really good time to actually do this right now. With that, the city's also engaged in a water and sewer rate study, and incorporating the refunding savings would help minimize projected sewer rate increases. Over the next 18 years, debt service is going to total about almost $35 million without refunding. If we actually do the refunding, it's estimated that we're looking at a little bit over $31 million at the current estimated rates. So if we do this tax exempt refunding of the 2009 COPs and 2009 SRF loan, we're going to produce approximately $3.66 million in net present value savings. And this also permits reshaping the overall debt structure to provide near-term debt capacity. So in summary, the total net present value savings is $3.66 million or 13.3% as a percentage of the refunded principal. The final maturity of debt's not going to be extended with the refunding. We're basically refunding this and keeping the debt schedule the same. It's basically just savings. That's what we're looking at. The requirement for a debt service reserve fund will also be eliminated, and the existing reserve will be used to reduce the refunding bond amount. Savings are currently estimated to range from $64,000 to $567,000 per year with the front loaded. And savings are a net of all issuance costs. The cost of issuance would be rolled into and paid for through bond proceeds. Currently, the estimated date of sale is February 11th, and we're estimated to close on around February 29th. With that, I will be taking any questions, and also with us is our FA, Prague, as well as bond counsel from Jones Hall.
Okay, and if there are, I see at least one council comment. We'll do a round from council and then open it up for any public comments and then back to council. With that, Councilwoman Pappen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really want to thank staff for finding this kind of savings. I applaud this. We do need to get under control our costs, and we still have to improve our infrastructure. I get that, but I'm happy to see we're heading in the right direction, that hopefully we may be able to reduce rates in the future. I know that's not a guarantee, but I'm hoping we can reduce these rates and sometime in the future, reduce our water rates. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval if there are no further questions.
I just have one comment, if you don't mind, through the mayor, through the chair.
Please go ahead, City Clerk.
It's Annie, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Vice Mayor, please go. Go ahead.
I already said this with our city manager. $45,000, and I want to make sure that if this is a negotiable number, I would like to make sure that we go to the table with negotiating somewhat of a cost factor here.
Mr. Sung, do you have a response?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
The cost of issuance, $245,000. If we could try to negotiate that down somewhat, I would appreciate that.
Madam Vice Mayor, I believe that's kind of a conservative estimate. We are trying to do our best to keep the cost of issuance down.
Yeah, so
it's likely that'll be a lower number.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, are there any comments from the public? Well, we're waiting to see if the public has any comments. Councilman Fung, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to thank the staff for putting this together. This is an excellent way to save money, recognizing the market trend and be able to take advantage of the low interest rate that we're currently in. And over the life of these COP, we're able to save, almost $3.7 million, right? Is that right, Mr. Williams?
3.6 something.
3.66 million, almost 3.7 million. And continue to be able to offer these much needed services to our city. Excellent way to save money and really good work. Thank you very much, the entire staff.
Thank you, Councilman. I don't see any comments from the public. City Clerk, do you see any comments?
I don't see any additional.
Any further comments from council? I would just share that, yes, this is really great to find a way to save us $3.6 million. It's fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Sung, on this and your staff for that good work. And I believe we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I think I heard Mr. Fung first. So Pappen and Fung, if there's no.
So Mayor, if I may add, this for us to vote on this resolution, it's also like for City Council and the Millbrae Financing Authority that the City Council act as. So there's two resolutions. One is for City Council and one is for Millbrae Public Financing Authority, which council is the.
Okay, so through Councilwoman Pappen, can we make a motion for the first part?
Can we move for both at the same time or do they have to be separate?
You can do both.
Madam Mayor, you can do both at the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
I would move both at the same time, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
And then I will second both at the same time.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. If we could have a roll call.
Councilmember Holliver,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Councilmember Pappen,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Oliva,
Aye.
Mayor Snyder.
Aye.
The City Council approved the resolution authorizing the issuance and the sale of refunding wastewater revenue bonds to refinance outstanding obligation of wastewater systems and approving related documents and action by the vote of 5-0. And the governing board of the City of the Millbrae Public Financing Authority approved the resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of an escrow agreement relating to the refinance of outstanding 2009 wastewater revenue certificates of participation and approving related action by the vote of 5-0.
Thank you, City Clerk. Okay, moving on to one of my favorite subject areas. We have agenda item number 8. Is staff ready to give a presentation on changing, repealing, and adopting a new chapter 6.40 on disposable food serviceware?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. City Council, I'd like to introduce Shelley Ryder, our Environmental Services Coordinator, and an employee that's been with the city, Megan Kelly, one of our environmental specialists.
And before I let Director Ryder start, I want to thank her for her many, many years of service to the city of Millbrae. It's my understanding that you are retiring the end of this week, and we are grateful for all of your years of service.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, let me
You need to switch your screen. So there you go.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Schneider and members of the City Council. This evening, I'll present on the disposable food serviceware ordinance, and Megan Kelly, who works with me and will be assuming my duties, will co-present with me. And we'll start with some background information, including that last year in February, I had provided an informational report on the County of San Mateo's proposed disposable food serviceware ordinance. Since that time, the county has adopted its ordinance, as well as the town of Atherton and the cities of Belmont, Burlingame, Half Moon Bay, and South San Francisco. Other cities are currently considering to adopt it, while others have delayed adoption due to COVID-19 impacts. The city's current sustainable food serviceware ordinance started in 2008 and was the first one adopted in the county. The county's Office of Sustainability pursued repealing their existing polystyrene ban ordinance with a more sustainable one for a number of reasons. One, because plastics end up in storm drains, waterways, the bays, and ultimately into the ocean. Single-use food and beverage packaging makes up approximately 80% of the ocean plastic pollution that comes from the land, and 67% of street litter is from single-use food and beverage packaging. There's another large reason, and that is because plastics are increasingly difficult to market for recycling, especially overseas, and it also ties in with the state goal, AB 341, which is to reduce 75% of the solid waste generated that's reduced, recycled, or composted. That milestone was by the end of last year. The Office of Sustainability conducted extensive outreach to gain feedback and engage cities and stakeholders with the goal to encourage cities in the county to adopt its ordinance. The county is planning to delay the enforcement of its ordinance until March of 2022. This will provide time for food facilities to recover from the economic impacts from COVID-19 and plenty of time to use up existing inventory. There are also a number of objectives for adopting this type of ordinance, and that includes reducing waste by eliminating disposable food serviceware that is not reusable or compostable, to improve the health and safety of our community members, as well as an effort to keep our waterways clean and meet the municipal regional stormwater permit that requires reducing litter in our streets. Specifically, the ordinance requires that food vendors use compostable foodware and reduce the wasteful distribution of accessories such as straws, stirrers, cup spill plugs, condiment packets, utensils, napkins, and more. So who will this impact? This will impact any food facility, such as any vendor organization that prepares food for public consumption. It affects the same types of entities that the current ordinance affects, including restaurants, food trucks, temporary food facilities, farmers markets, catering operations, schools, private schools only, and healthcare facilities. It will also affect our city facilities, similar to our current ordinance. And just to clarify, it only affects prepared food, food that is prepared on site. It does not affect food that is packaged at another location and from a distributor. So only prepared food. Megan will now go into a number of the provisions.
Thank you, Shelley. Under this new ordinance, disposable food serviceware made out of polystyrene or styrofoam is still prohibited, as it currently is. And in addition, accessories such as straws, stirrers, cup spill plugs, etc., will only be provided when requested by a consumer, upon acceptance by the consumer after being offered the item, or at a self-serve area or dispenser. In addition, takeout food delivery services that use digital ordering platforms must provide options for customers to actually request those accessories. And the accessories must be distributed unbundled as separate units. For accessories, again, such as straws, stirrers, utensils, etc., plastics of any type will not be allowed, neither traditional nor compostable, like your bioplastic or PLA. And they must be fully compostable as well as the packaging that they come in. Acceptable materials are fiber-based materials such as paper, wood, bamboo, etc. For plates, bowls, cups, food trays, and other containers, again, plastics will not be allowed, and fiber-based materials are acceptable. So paper, sugarcane, wheat, etc. Compostable plastic lining is okay, but all the products must also be fluorinated carbon-free or fluorinated chemical-free, which can be determined by looking for a BPI or Biodegradable Products Institute logo on the products or packaging. Exemptions to these provisions include aluminum, which can be recycled, medical accommodations such as need for a disposable plastic straw, or if no reasonably feasible alternative exists. In addition, drive-through areas of food facilities can give out straws or cup sleeves without a request from the consumer. The county's Office of Sustainability and the city will have available a list of approved disposable food serviceware sources or references to organizations that maintain these updated lists that meet the ordinance requirements. The ordinance, as Shelley stated earlier, would become effective 30 days after adoption and operative and enforced when at the same time the county's becomes operative, which is March 25th, 2022. There's one provision that may become operative sooner, which is that effective businesses are to keep records of purchases for all of their disposable foodware, both compostable and non-compostable. This would start 30 days after the effective date and would allow the county to start gathering and analyzing data. And this provision would end when the other provisions begin. The city will enter into a memorandum of understanding with the county, who will be leading the education and enforcement for the ordinance. This is great because this will really promote consistency within jurisdictions throughout the county and leverage economies of scale. And it will also allow the city to save staff time and resources by having the county provide these services. Similar to our current ordinance, enforcement will primarily be on a complaint basis, and we will certainly be working with businesses to provide a level of flexibility and help them transition to the new foodware. The county is also currently working with a consultant to develop various educational resources, flyers, technical support, resource guide, and more.
Regarding outreach, after last February City Council meeting, we sent a multilingual letter to all of the affected businesses outlining the new food serviceware ordinance, the provisions, as well as to receive input from the business businesses. Prior to this evening's council meeting, we sent a mailer to all of the affected businesses to inform them that this ordinance was being considered for adoption and to let them know it would be enacted at a later date. A summary and other information about the ordinance is posted on the website. It's been up there for the last year, and we recently updated the summary sheets I'll show in one moment, and those are also on the website. Should the disposable food serviceware ordinance be adopted, we will conduct additional outreach to inform the affected businesses, as well as work with the county on additional outreach. This shows the summary fact sheet in English and also in Chinese. This evening, the City Council is being asked to waive the first reading, repealing Chapter 6.40 of the Millbrae Municipal Code and introduce an ordinance adding a new Chapter 6.40 entitled Regulating the Use of Disposable Food Serviceware by Food Facilities and City Facilities. Thank you. We're happy to answer any questions.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, my hand's not raising, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry. So I think that it's important that we have a grace period for our businesses. And I know that we're like pretty much a grace period by just introducing this right now. But I think that something needs to be also in writing to all of our businesses, that it's when they purchase items that were not going to be usable. So let's make sure that they understand that once they purchase items from today on, they're not going to be able to use them after the ordinance comes into place. And if they are, if they're going to purchase, you know, enough for another year after, are we going to be able to embrace that and give them that grace?
There will be a long timeline, you know, like you said, starting from now, and once, should the ordinance be adopted, there would be continuous outreach. The county is designing a lot of that outreach. We will work with them. We'll do our own outreach so that each of the businesses know when it's going to start and what is required. Like the current sustainable food serviceware ordinance, we work closely with the businesses, and we did allow some time to use up their existing stock. So should it happen that the timing is that they have just a certain amount of, the non-compliant foodware, we would work with them. Our goal isn't to punish and that kind of thing, but to work and closely with our businesses and help them to become compliant. We will continue the outreach so that they are aware and of the timeline, and then they can kind of gauge how much they have and how much they need to use up.
And I would first and foremost, I hate to see you go. I mean, I'm really grateful for everything you've done, and I think the goal here is that we want to be compliant for the best of all of us, right? Yeah. But we don't want to make anybody suffer through an ordinance. And I appreciate if we can make it user friendly at most. So before you leave, if you could help us out with that and make sure that all of our businesses understand that if they're purchasing these in abundance, they're not going to be able to use them after a certain period of time.
And this does give over a year. So the outreach will be continuous, and that would be the goal, so that all of the foodware is compostable and not ending up in our landfill or in the landfill. So we will work with them, and that's how we do the current ordinance is, a lot of understanding and a lot of ability to help them to embrace it as well as to purchase the compliant foodware.
Thank you, Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Shelley. Councilwoman Pappen.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Shelley, you do set the gold standard and always have. So thank you so much for everything you've done for the city. This is quite a loss. Here we've been worried people have been stealing you away for all these years. And then you go retire. Goodness. You've been spectacular. Thank you. Regarding the ordinance here, Councilmember Oliva, I mean, we've already started the notification even before this. So I think we're being extremely generous, and we are always working with the businesses. I would like to point out that given COVID, any supply they have, I'm sure they're using very quickly right now.
You're
so
right.
I would like to suggest that we actually implement this sooner rather than later. January 1st is always a good date, easy for people to remember. And again, we are not punitive in how we act moving forward here. We will work with the businesses, but I think it just sets an example that Millbrae has always said. We were the first to ban polystyrene, the first to ban plastic bags, and I'm not happy that we weren't the first to do this. So I think January 1st is an easy date for people to really remember things moving forward here. And again, we are not out to penalize anybody. We will work with them, but I just think we should make the date January 1st and go from there.
Thank you, Councilman Pappen. Councilman Holober.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you again, Shelley. Surprising to hear about your retirement, but we're all saddened, but happy for you and for your future. Always remember the cleanup days, how community friendly you have always been, and certainly miss you. But as for this particular ordinance, I'm very much in support of this. Just a couple of questions. One is about the compostable plastics or bioplastics and why those are not permitted. I know in San Francisco, for example, I believe those were permitted when other types of single-use plastics were discontinued. So can you provide a little more information about that?
Oh, okay.
If
So
they can be composted.
yeah, so they actually, in fact, are not as compostable as I think we originally thought they were. Currently, it's in the ordinance that that's okay. But in the end, they do not break down like the other materials are truly compostable. And there is a variety of compostable foodware that will meet the different needs of the businesses. But it has to do with how it breaks down and the compostability or lack of compostability. So that's why there are the guidelines that are in place in meeting the different regulations. And, yeah.
Okay.
And one other, Shelley, if I could just chime in, the other thing as far as them being not very compostable in an industrial setting, when they're found like on the street or in water, they act kind of just like plastic. So they really don't break down unless they're disposed of completely properly in an industrial facility.
That makes sense.
And Councilman, if I can add one more thing, as we're looking at expanding the markets for compost, many farms that would be the likely market for these are worried about the microplastics that are in biodegradable plastics and what it would absolutely not work in an organic farm, but it's of concern of farmers in general.
Okay. And then just for clarification, I know there's an exemption for drive-throughs that can provide straws and cup sleeves. Just for clarification, can they provide plastic straws or only straws that would comply with this ordinance?
Only straws that would comply.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Okay. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Again, to build on Councilman Holober, I didn't dawn on me, it's really the plastic lids in the drinks that become problematic, isn't it? They're going to go to the they're going to be landfilled.
That's, yeah, I mean, yeah, as far as the lack of compostability. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Councilman Fung.
Hi, thank you, Madam Mayor. And first of all, Shelley, we're very sorry to see you go. We thank you very much for your long years of service here at Millbrae. You know, you'll truly be missed, and we thank you very much for you working with us for so long. Now, as far as the ordinance itself, I was wondering, I mean, in general, I believe this is certainly the right direction to go. The question I have is this, well, first comment and then that question. I think some of the businesses like the restaurants, they're serving so many takeout right now, they're likely to be able to use up a lot of their inventory right now. So a year and 2 months worth of grace periods until the ordinance become effective would certainly not affect these restaurant businesses too much, I think. But have you reached out to those boba and milk tea places where, because I know that they use these plastic cups and then they sort of have these special machines where they will seal the lid of it with a piece of plastic. And then they invest quite a bit of their capital on building these machines, tailored to their business. I'm wondering, what was your outreach with these? We have a few of these places here in Millbrae. What was your outreach with them? What was their comments? How do they react to this, if you can?
I haven't heard from the boba places. We have done some outreach. So it would be, a matter of us working closely with them. It's a matter of time before all the other cities are likely to adopt this type of ordinance. There will be some, regional economies of scale and affordability for the businesses to switch. We will make an extra effort with the boba places. They will have plenty of time to be able to switch out and hopefully to be able to utilize some of their existing equipment, but change some of the practices. We'll reach out to them.
Yeah, especially during the time of COVID, everybody is watching their bottom line. So I would be a bit concerned about accelerating the enforcement date until we heard back from these boba places to make sure that they're on board with this, and then they understand that the changes that is coming in front of them, and that they make the proper adjustment. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, before we go to public comment, Shelley, I have a number of questions. I think some of them are pretty quick. You had said that the public education materials will be in Chinese and English. They're also going to be in Spanish too, aren't they?
Yes, we would do some, right? Yeah, some of our outreach has been, and some of it in, dual language, but that would be the goal, is to do it in 3 languages.
Okay. And under the category of prepared food, I will admit that when I go to Safeway and I'm hungry, I do buy sushi that is prepared right there and packaged right there. But it's my understanding that they are exempt. How can we not include the Safeways and other operations similar to what Safeway does, for example, at the sushi bar?
Technically, because it's prepared on site, it should have to comply.
That is good to know.
Cake is made off-site, packaged off-site, and delivered. It would not affect that type of food product.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. I couldn't see that. I want to give a shout out to Chipotle because of all of us are doing takeout, and I'm paying really close attention to the online menus. And at Chipotle, you already have to ask for silverware. I was at Round Table Pizza Sunday night, and they actually asked me if I wanted the cheese and the chilies on the side, and I said no. So yay, but it's not on their takeout menu yet. I know we have 1 year and 3 months before this will go into effect, but if the county could begin to work with all of our restaurants right now on their takeout order forms, we could be saving their restaurants money right now. Because all of this, the other condiments, oh, solo mio, we dearly love it. Every time I go in, I get the whole package. So I really like the way the ordinance separates each of those items. So the ordinance actually has really looked at a lot of the micro detail, and I thank you and the county for that. But a solo mio, boy, we could help save them money if they didn't give me silverware when I'm bringing it home, and another menu, and et cetera, et cetera. Except I'd miss the treat. I'd miss the candy at the end, but oh well, I can afford that. But so I really think we could escalate that. You and I know about cooperative purchasing. We don't have our downtown business improvement district and or the chamber, but do you think that there is a chance that we could work with Economic Vitality Committee and the chamber to look at cooperative purchasing of these new packaging types? Because typically new models, new products are more costly than the old stuff. And cooperative purchasing, especially with a shorter shelf life, could help our restaurants be able to swap into that. And it might have to be at the county level. I actually think if we had our BID, it would be perfect to add to the BID. And I don't want to confuse my fellow council members, but that's how we kickstarted buying recycled, was having governments, especially little governments, be able to cooperatively purchase and get the bulk discount that way. So I would love to see the city look at that, maybe through Economic Vitality and through the chamber on that. You also know I talked to the city manager earlier, since I will be signing these documents. As a former teacher of solid waste, I'm very anal with my terminology, and I hate that we still use styrofoam. But I do like in the actual ordinance the definition part, so that's good. But there's one reference before I sign it, I believe it's in the resolution. If we could just delete the word styrofoam. Styrofoam is a trademark by Dow Chemical Company, and it's wall insulation. So we just keep repeating something that is not accurate. So if we could just delete it, and if the council is okay with that, that would be my request. And one last thing, as a Millbrae Lion, a few years ago when they were getting ready for one of their crab feeds, they tried very hard to find recycled, truly compostable silverware. They couldn't. They ended up ordering bamboo flatware, which is gorgeous, extremely expensive, hence cooperative purchasing. But the Lions right now cannot do their meals. They've got a trailer full of polystyrene, plastic stuff. So I, as much as we have concern for our restaurants during transition, our NGOs who haven't been able to do their fundraisers are going to have a backlog of this material. And I know that we will not be punitive, but hopefully we will keep, and maybe we reach out to the Lions, the Rotarians, and I don't know what Self-Help for the Elderly, how they serve, but all of our NGOs that serve food, and we start working with them. It was really hard for the Lions to try to do the right thing. It was not simple, and I want to make sure it's simple for them. With that, I think that this is fantastic. I actually would support Councilwoman Pappin's moving this up 3 months earlier so we can keep our claim to fame. And I truly do believe that that's enough time that we can help all of our restaurants survive. I actually think they're going to save money in the long run. Oh, my last part, waste prevention. If I use Peter's Cafe, again, we dearly love them. When you order there, in or out, they put fruit in a little plastic cup. That could be source reduced entirely. So I hope that the county's materials are going to include waste prevention messaging. There's a lot of stuff we just don't need, period, if we could simply work with our restaurateurs. I know they're doing it as part of their back kitchen prep, but maybe we need to look at the kitchen prep area and see how we can help them source reduce.
May I address the timeline? Would this be the time to address
Sure.
that? Okay, so part of doing this ordinance and repealing our current one and going with the county's one is to optimize not only on their outreach, but with the enforcement. If we go earlier, we will not be able to optimize on their outreach or enforcement. We're talking a few months time. And so I just want to mention that it will be a lot more work on staff's part to get that information out, to do the enforcement. And yeah, so I just wanted to mention that there's a goal in adopting the counties and economies of scale.
Excellent point, Shelley. Actually, that's my last point. Remember when the plastic bag went through and the county said that they would be doing those health inspections? When I was the chair of CCAG's Integrated Waste Management Plan Ad Hoc Committee.
I hate to say this. We have to stay on point. We have
it
to
is
stay
on point. It is on point, City Manager. The health department told me flat out that they stopped doing that. So if we sign this MOU with the county, what guarantee are we going to have that the county doesn't pull out after the fact, dumping it on our own code enforcement?
That's a different agenda item. I'd be happy
No,
to.
it's actually in the resolution, City Manager. It's in the language.
The negotiations with the county is not on the agenda tonight.
It's in the contract, the MOU with the county. I'll postpone it. It's a concern I have, but it is in the MOU with the county. And I will tell you that the county rescinded it on a different contract. So just put it out there. I still see Mr. Fung. Was that your hand up, or can I go to the public and we come back to council?
Nothing further, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. City Clerk, could we open it up to public comment?
Former Mayor Wayne Lee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, Shelley, I just want to thank you for all your work. It's been phenomenal. You were a trailblazer. You started the first banning of plastic bags and containers. We were ahead of everybody else in the state. And that was due to your work and also your phenomenal work in building community togetherness and getting people to come out twice a year to clean up our city. So congratulations on your retirement, and we're just going to really miss you. Also, I just noticed that except for Councilmember Fung, you didn't really much discuss the 50% of the small businesses that are going to be affected. I would not support moving it up, because you're going to have problems with plastic cups unless you have a way to cover cups. You're going to McDonald's and all these other small businesses are going to have a very difficult time providing drinks. And the boba places, we have many boba places, they're going to be affected. And they're small businesses. They don't have the resources to quickly switch. So either the city provides extra help with those businesses, or and provide some alternatives for them to consider, or you give them some time. Thank you.
Elaine, do you want me to call them, or do you want to do them as you can reach them? We have quite a few hands up.
Yes, we do. And I just want to also note, the city did receive 3 public comment by email, and it was forwarded to the city council prior to the start of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's up to you, Mayor, if you would like to call on them, or I can call on them and unmute them too.
I'll probably take them from the top. I see Teresa Montgomery, our recycling coordinator with South City Scavenger.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Teresa. Thank you.
Oh, great. So good evening. I'm Teresa Montgomery. I'm the Sustainability Manager at South San Francisco Scavenger. I'd just like to say that several months back, the county reached out to us for input on this ordinance and listened to our concerns and incorporated our suggestions into their draft of this ordinance. We really appreciated this opportunity to collaborate and are really happy to see many peninsula cities working to adopt the ordinance now, especially, of course, one of the cities we serve. Implementation of this ordinance will really encourage waste reduction and decrease the use of traditional and bioplastics. Both are a problem. It will make our waste sorting and recovery efforts much more successful, and we really look forward to working with city staff to educate the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Next up, Nathan Choi.
Good evening, council members. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Nathan Choi from 1131 Hillcrest Boulevard. I'm currently a junior at Mills High School and a resident in Millbrae. I have a great passion for keeping our community safe and as environmentally friendly as possible. However, one deep concern I have for our community is the large use of plastics, especially in restaurants. When my family eats takeout, we are usually left with many forks, knives, and spoons, which we seldom use at all when eating at home. My family tries to keep some of the plastic utensils for later use, but ultimately it's just a waste. We simply don't need those plastic utensils. Worse, these plastics are hurting our health. Many studies, the most notable conducted in Harvard, show that exposure to plastics is linked to many, many consequences, including birth defects, cancers, and immune system suppression. Plastics can seep into our food and water, allowing for direct consumption of their harmful chemical makeup. The amount of plastics we distribute is simply unnecessary and overall harmful. That is why I ask you to pass and adopt this ordinance as soon as possible. Yes, this may be an inconvenience for restaurants to revise their workflow, but I believe that this is a win-win. Restaurants save money on buying plastic utensils, and the amount of plastics circulating in our communities is greatly reduced. This change is crucial in improving the health of our community members and is economically positive. Council members, I thank you again for your time and your efforts in taking every step possible to drive Millbrae towards a safer and greener city.
Thank you, Mr. Choi, and how lovely to have our younger generation speaking up. Very glad to have you here tonight. Clayton Lau.
Hello. Hello, council members. Thank you for your time and your service to this community. I'm Clayton. I'm a resident of Millbrae and a junior at Mills High School. Recently, I've joined an environmental club. And in addition, I've eaten a lot of takeout food. Now, these two things might be very strange things to relate to each other, but being part of an environmental club has helped me to realize the ever-creeping threat of climate change. Now, every time I get takeout, I check to see if their containers are recyclable, make sure to wash and dry them, and then put them in the recycling. Imagine how mortified I was to discover that half of recyclable plastics go to the landfill and the other half becomes downcycled and can't be used again. Even worse, only a quarter of plastics are even recyclable. Council members, I strongly urge you to pass this disposable foodware ordinance. I understand that this is a challenging time for many local restaurants. However, this is a necessary step to saving our environment. Be the change that the world needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Hopefully I'll pronounce this. Bing Sheshan? Chan? Did we lose Bing?
No, I'm here. Hello, good evening. Good evening, honorary council members. My name is Cedric Chan, and I'm also a junior at Mills High School. I just want to say that I'm very passionate for this ordinance in reducing plastic, as 91% of the plastic that recycled does not end up recycled. It ends up in landfills, which I think is a horrifying fact, because the name recycle just means, like, when I hear recycle, I just think I could be able to use this again, right? But the fact is that most of it is not reusable. And yeah, so whenever I eat takeout food or Uber Eats and DoorDash, they don't actually have requests for, or nowadays they don't have request, or they just give you the plastic utensils, right? So I think that's a terrible way to do it. And I think this ordinance is very important to have these requests so that the eco-conscious members of our society are able to help fight climate change. And I just greatly agree with Councilmember Pappen that we should set an example for other cities to take this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe Montgomery.
Hello, council members. Thank you so much for your time and service to the community. My name is Chloe Montgomery. I'm a student at Woodside High School and a resident of Redwood City. In addition to my interest in academics and sports, I have a great passion for the environment. I would like to take this brief opportunity to speak in favor of the disposable food serviceware ordinance. I'm familiar with the many challenges presented by the 57,000 tons of single-use plastic waste produced by San Mateo County annually, but I'm most concerned about the health effects. Throughout plastic's life cycle, toxic chemicals are added to its primary ingredient, fossil fuels. And these toxic chemicals are shown to enter the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. According to the council's own ordinance, this results in severe health effects, including kidney cancer, testicular cancer, and thyroid disruption. Unfortunately, I've witnessed these issues firsthand. One of my family members suffered from thyroid disruption. After several years of the thyroid growing, doctors believed she would lose the ability to swallow. Luckily, she had it removed in time, but now she's on thyroid medication for the rest of her life. Using compostable food service items is an essential first step to ensure the health of Millbrae citizens, and the change will pave the way for reusables instead of disposables that will further improve the city's economy. I understand this transition for restaurants will be challenging. However, they will save money in the long term, and new programs that provide restaurants with clean, reusable takeout containers and retrieve them from their customers will soon be available to help them. For the health and safety of Millbrae citizens, I urge you to act swiftly and pass this disposable food serviceware ordinance and make it enforceable by the end of this calendar year. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery, and thank you for bringing up health issues. My thoughts to your family. Vanessa Teo.
Good evening, Honorary Mayor Schneider and Honorary City Council members. Thank you for your time and service. My name is Vanessa Teo. I'm a senior at Burlingame High School and a Foster City resident. Although I don't live in Millbrae, I'm very passionate about environmental protection and I spend a lot of time in the city. So I urge you to adopt the disposable food serviceware ordinance because of the harmful long-term effects of single-use plastics. Plastics continue to build up in our landfill, streets, and urban and stormwater litter, showing how supposed single-use plastic recycling is actually a broken system, cannot continue to be ignored. In addition, these plastics have very detrimental impacts to our health. Plastic pollution is in our oceans, air, and land, and inevitably our bodies. Although it does require money for businesses to change their products, single-use plastics are not an issue we can continue to ignore, and replacing them will ultimately have monetary benefits for businesses in the long run. For single-use plastics currently cost us so much money per year from waste hauling, litter cleanup, and beach and marine cleanup. For these reasons, I urge that you adopt the disposable food serviceware ordinance, and hopefully it can be enforced by the end of this year. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Jake Kim.
Hello and thank you, honorary Millbrae City Council members. My name is Jake Kim and I am a resident at Lansdale Avenue, and a junior at Mills High School. I'm very passionate about the environment and life, which is why I'm particularly enjoying my AP biology class this year. One thing that stuck to me as a bio student is the biological phenomenon known as biomagnification, in which toxin concentrations in organisms are significantly amplified when they are consumed by a predator, which in many cases are us. After getting strangled by plastic bags and poisoned by plastic consumption, the surviving marine animals face the challenge of human predation. But as it turns out, this phenomenon called biomagnification makes it just as much of a problem for us as it is to the captured tuna and salmon. Every time we prepare ourselves a nice seafood meal, we unknowingly increase our susceptibility to certain cancers, liver failure, birth defects, brain damage, and heart disease because of these amplified effects of the plastic and toxins. Therefore, plastic pollution threatens our local ecosystems as well as public health. Plastic reaches storm drains and oceans due to natural forces such as wind and rain. And unless we can somehow play God and control these natural forces, we should focus on reducing our plastic usage instead. I strongly urge you to pass the plastic ban ordinance tonight and ask that you enforce it by the end of 2021. Again, thank you for your time and thank you for considering my request.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Claudia Nolasco.
Good morning, San Mateo Council members, and thank you very much for your hospitality. My name is Claudia Nolasco, and I'm a junior at Woodside High School participating at Woodside Screen Academy, an organization dedicated to providing opportunities for students, environmental advocacy, and education. Part of our mission is supporting the environmental justice movement, especially regarding the environment factors that affect minority and low-income groups. Since the 21st century, plastic has become a low-cost resource, especially for those unable to purchase cost-effective materials. However, this is also the plastic that damages our environment, as most of it ends up in landfill. In low-income and minority communities of high population density, waste, which is mostly plastic, continues to mound uncontrollably like a tsunami bearing down on shores. Poverty forces low-income families to rely on convenience and cheap alternatives such as plastic. My family lives in this reality. I have two younger brothers, both my full-time jobs, and they're gone most of the day. As the oldest child to come provide for my brothers, and even when we buy from the grocery store, much of it is dropped in
Claudia, excuse me, this is the mayor.
Rely on fast food,
Claudia,
which comes in plastic containers.
Claudia, I apologize for interrupting. City Clerk, her connection is coming in badly.
Yes, but I think like we could. I could still hear her a little bit though.
You could. All I heard was that vibration. I apologize, Ms. Polasco. I just wanted to make sure that your words are heard. Let's try again. Thank you for stopping the clock, City Clerk. Please go ahead, Claudia. And sometimes it helps if you've got your picture up. If you turn off your camera, your voice may come through better. Am I frozen now?
Mayor, I think sometimes we have technical difficulties, so we kind of do our best and let the person finish.
I completely understand. We just have such a great turnout of young people. I want them to have a good experience.
I would also offer, because of technical difficulties, that they could also write into the city council and then follow up their communication, and we can put that in the record as well.
Thank you, City Manager. I think we've lost Claudia.
Can we in the room again?
I'm back.
Oh, there she's back.
I'm sorry
okay,
for that.
Very good. No, it was our problem. No problems. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'll continue. Thank you so much. So both my parents work full-time jobs and they're gone most of the day. And as the oldest child, I do have to cook and provide for my brothers with limited resources I have. We often rely on fast food, which comes in plastic containers. And the products we can buy and cook ourselves, they also come in plastic. And don't get me started on all the plastic utensils in the cupboard. We're not alone. Other income families are also forced to use plastics, and those plastics never go away. And a lot of those plastics end up in their communities. So please, I am in favor of this ordinance, and I please, for the future, your children, your grandchildren, and our community in the long run, I humbly ask you to vote yes on this and to make it so it's by the end of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Very good. Nathan Chan, please.
Good evening, City Council. Nathan Chan, a Millbrae resident here. I wanted to theme my comments tonight around encouragement. I wanted to encourage the City Council to look upon this ordinance as a leadership opportunity for you all, which I've heard many of you say is very important to you. This is an opportunity for Millbrae, for you as the governing body of Millbrae, to take a leadership role in showing the community the way forward to a plastic-free future, which so many previous speakers have spoken articulated much better than I have, and the need for it. The second piece of encouragement I wanted to tell you about is that there are alternatives that are coming. I am not acting as a spokesperson for my company or my industry, but there's an entire industry called the bioeconomy that seeks to move our chemical industry off of petrochemicals, off of plastics that stay in the environment forever, and use the power of nature to create materials that will ultimately be better, both in terms of performance and for the environment. So, and to pick up on Councilmember Fung's comments and former Wayne Lee's comments, I too am a fan of boba and sort of recognize the way that plastic packaging and straws seem to be such a key part of their business right now. But there are innovative companies out there trying to move past that. Such as Boba Guys, which, you know, is a not too long ago didn't exist as a business and is a local business and has been championing moving beyond plastic straws as a way to consume boba. But many of these alternatives won't be viable if plastic continues to be a cheaper alternative, but not cheaper in the real sense because of the environmental harm they do. So I think passing this ordinance is the right thing to do, and it will help encourage a future that we all want, that's more sustainable, healthier, and better for the planet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Cassandra Bousquet?
Bousquet. Yes,
Bousquet?
thank you.
Thank you.
All
Go
right.
ahead, Cassandra.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Cassandra Bousquet, and I am a junior at Mercy High School, Burlingame, and a resident of the city of Brisbane. I would like to take this brief opportunity to speak in favor of the San Mateo County Disposable Food Serviceware Ordinance, which I commend you for considering. The most important part of this ordinance, I believe, is that it is steering us away from our dependency on single-use plastics. Plastics are killing us, our health, our ecosystems, our oceans. Abundant research has been done on this topic, resulting in information that is more than extremely alarming to me. In fact, much of this information is listed in the preamble of the ordinance. However, people are still refusing to take this fact seriously. 2050 is generally regarded as the year of doom when it comes to climate change. By 2050, annual greenhouse gas emissions could grow to more than 2.75 billion metric tons of CO2e just from plastic production, transportation, and incineration. By 2050, scientists project that there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. But if we do our part in living more sustainably, if we do our part in helping others, demanding others to do the same, if local leaders implement strong plastic ban policies, then this doesn't have to be the case. Millbrae is one city, but if it passes this ordinance, then it becomes one more city in the county, one more city in the world that is even more actively combating climate change. And plastics are climate change. The energy and resources used to make them, ship them, and distribute them, and the havoc that they wreak when they are discarded. For as we all know, plastics never really go away, instead settling in landfills in our coastal waters, only breaking up over thousands of years, but never breaking down. In all of our minds, we must acknowledge that these consequences far outweigh any personal convenience disposable plastics may pose to us. Time is running out. Scientists have concluded that the effects of climate change will be irreversible in 8.5 years. And so not only do I and other youth ask you to pass this policy, we ask that the ordinance go into effect before the end of 2021, like Half Moon Bay has done, and not your recommended date of March 2022. We realize that compostables can be a tricky topic, so we ask you to remember that fully natural plant products will always be more sustainable and efficient than any type of plastic. We also understand that this will be an adjustment for restaurants. Change always takes some getting used to, but we must do what we can for our planet. A natural step from compostables is reusables, and in making this change, restaurants could save almost $4,000 a year per location. But in order to get us there, the first step has to be taken at some point. While we feel that reusables are ultimately the answer, we believe that this ordinance is an extremely promising step in a direction we hope you will continue to explore. And so we urge you to make it effective as soon as possible, at least as mentioned previously, before the end of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bousquet. Next, Heidi Melander. Hi, Heidi.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Melander. I'm not a Millbrae resident. I'm a Mountain View resident, but I'm also one of the zero waste advocates within the Sierra Club, which is a regional local organization that obviously is very supportive of this ordinance. I wanted to let you know that there are 95 residents in Millbrae that are Sierra Club members. So I'm sure I speak for them in congratulating the city of Millbrae in their efforts in pulling this together, and for the county of San Mateo for leading the effort. I think you're also leading the effort for other peninsula cities. As I am a resident of Santa Clara County, I know that this has also been discussed at the county level there as well. And I'm sure that there will be some movement on a similar ordinance in the coming year. I also commend you for addressing this during COVID times, and especially it seems during COVID times, the plastics have become much more prevalent. So what I encourage everyone to do, I don't always remember when I'm ordering out either to specifically ask, if not prompted, to specifically ask for, keeping the disposables away. I also am collecting way too many plastic utensils that I don't need. I'm also really glad that the ordinance is addressing the compostable containers and the chemicals that are sometimes found in some of the paperboard containers that are frequently used today. There are paperboard containers and other natural-based fiber containers that don't contain chemicals that are considered harmful. So I'm glad that that's addressed in the ordinance. I'd also like to thank the high school students for calling in. It's very rewarding to hear that there's so much effort from the youth on this issue. So thanks again to everyone, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Melander. Hoyen Ip.
Good evening, Council. I'm Hoyen Ip. I'm a cleanup volunteer with the Sierra Club. First, I want to say thank you for doing this. The timing is just so important. And also that I love the fact that you reached out to restaurants twice. So, but I would say that if you did a survey with cleanup volunteers on the exemption of styrofoam coolers and ice chests, the result will be no, please make us happy, because styrofoam just shares all the time. There is no such a thing really called reuse. Practically is single use. I love the fact that you state you are going to restrict that accessories cannot be bundled. So that would save packaging. But let's face it, calorie packets are part of our life, and enforcement is always challenging. So, well, let's deal with it. A required 25-cent surcharge. So restaurants will remember to make this as a line item instead of giving this away free as a habit until March next year. On the other hand, people know not to make a convenient ask to get this a freebie. So this fee is always a very effective way to reduce unnecessary waste. Now, I also mentioned in my email about reusable ware only for on-site dining. This is a little bit more, I'm not asking you to do this tonight, but I just hope that the city will continue working on this single-use reduction towards reusable. So one way is to require dishwashers for new restaurants. LA County commissioned a UCLA report on plastic pollution. It actually shows multiple benefits of this. I never saw some of these points, so I'd be very happy to share this report with you. And also that report mentioned the benefit, the cost of converting to compostables is actually manageable. On the other hand, when you do upon request, you save them money already. So this does not come out as a loss for restaurants. Lastly, SB 1383 requires reduction of contaminants. We don't want microplastic in compost. So prevention and source control are the key. So I hope council can see that my suggestion could be helpful on compliance on that side too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ip. Ilan Liesgarten.
Hello, council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Ilan Liesgarten. I live in San Mateo County. I'm a senior at Menlo School, and I'm here today because I'm scared for my future. Just a couple weeks ago, I was walking with my friend enjoying the beauty of Half Moon Bay, but almost everywhere I turned, there was plastic half buried in sand or blowing in the wind. While I'm speaking to you today in support of the Disposable Food Serviceware Ordinance, it's not just because I want to go and enjoy a pretty beach. It's much more than that. The damaging consequences of plastics is a multifaceted issue and is creeping into every part of our life. I could wake up in the morning, go outside and take a deep breath of fresh air. Inadvertently, I just breathe in microplastics. I could be simply enjoying some seafood for lunch with my family. Chances are I'm consuming plastics. Even drinking from a water bottle, plastic particles are entering my body. The prevalence of plastics at every store, restaurant, and party or event in our life adds up. A study by the World Wildlife Fund found that the average person consumes the equivalent of a credit card's worth of plastic every week. Not only is it harmful for the individual, but with our only landfill in San Mateo County expected to be at full capacity in less than 20 years, trash management will need to use more fuel, spend more money, and drive further distances to dispose of our plastic waste. We have a finite number of resources, and the next couple decades are essential in deciding if we're able to live sustainably and mitigate and eventually reverse the effects of climate change. I urge you to join fellow cities in San Mateo County who have already passed this ordinance to help reduce the 57,000 tons of single-use plastic waste San Mateo County generates every year in the hope of a cleaner future, not only so I can go on plastic-free walks on the beach, but for the overall preservation, sustainability, and health of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liesgarten. And I think our last speaker is Chris Frank. Mr. Frank.
Hi there, thanks very much. I'm a Millbrae resident and Sierra Club volunteer, and thanks for letting me speak tonight. So many great, well-informed comments so far, and so great to hear so many people speak up for the environment. So I just want to make a few points that I don't think have been made yet. First is most of the plastics I get from takeout are black often, and those aren't recyclable because the machines can't see them. and they make a bad color that buyers of recycled materials don't like, so they just end up in the landfill. And also when I get takeout and when I ask for no utensils, they often just end up in the bag anyway. So I think we need a mandate to change behavior, similar to smoking in restaurants. And last point, if we do make the switch, I'm happy to pay a little more if restaurants pass through the costs, and I'll go out of my way to order more from Millbrae restaurants to support them in the transition. So I encourage you to listen to the young people and pass the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. A new person we have. Hi, Ansu Lim from the County of San Mateo. I believe you're from the Office of Sustainability. Please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again, Madam Schneider. And so thank you for letting me speak, Madam Schneider and City Council members. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for considering this ordinance for the Millbrae community, especially during the middle of a pandemic. That really shows leadership. And it's so great to hear all the different young folks that have come to speak tonight. That's very encouraging to hear. And quick thing, it's been a pleasure working with you, Shelley, for the past few years, especially on this ordinance. And I'm sad to be losing such a great city staff partner, but I'm also very excited for your new next step. A few things I did want to talk about, specifically around the enforcement start date. I know there's been a few different conversations about that, and I just wanted to kind of put in a little rationale for why the county is highly recommending that partner cities align their start dates for enforcement with the counties. And it's to, one, reduce confusion throughout the county. We're trying to reduce having 8, 12, 15 different enforcement start dates throughout the entire county. So being strategic and grouping the enforcement dates together of different jurisdictions may have more of a significant impact in terms of marketing and raising awareness within the different communities. It also helps streamline education and enforcement process for us, for the county, as we're implementing the program. It leverages economies of scale, and just considering passing at the end of the calendar year or the beginning of the new year might be very challenging for restaurants, and especially restaurants. And we also consider that timeline as well, because it's the holiday season. It's probably the most busy season of the year for the restaurants. So to burden them with this ordinance around that time may not be the best choice. So we considered looking at all the different seasons, and we chose March as the best option for restaurants to have enough time to breathe and to actually make the switch. And we thought of March, the tweener season, might be a good approach. But with that said, if a city decides to proceed with its own timeline for various reasons, then the county we will respect that decision and work with the city staff to roll out the education and enforcement efforts according to its decided timeline. And alternatively, the city could also start a volunteer program or another outreach program that really targets reducing regulating accessories upon request, working with at food facilities and other restaurants, which the county is doing right now.
Ms. Lim, your timing was perfect, but I hope you're going to be able to stay with us. Other council members may have some questions for you. Thank you. And now I see one last hand, Doug Silverstein.
Hi, council members. Thank you for your time. I'll be very brief. I think given that it's January 26th and we have 11 months to get to the end of the year, it would be great if you could pass it before the end of the year. Or I understand the issue with the holiday season, maybe even November. The youth's voices are inspiring. I think we all want fast action, and we're at a critical point with the environment and climate change. So thank you for your consideration of moving the date forward, and Councilmember Pappen for bringing that up. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Silverstein. With that, I don't see any further hands. So unless somebody jumps in quickly, I'm going to close the public comment period and bring this back to City Council. Comments from City Council. I see Councilwoman Pappen. Please go ahead, Gina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The last speaker there mentioned something about, I didn't quite catch it. Their county is already working with some of the restaurants. Can we get further explanation on that?
Certainly. Did you mean Doug Silverstein or Ansulu Lim
I'm
from the
sorry,
county?
Anson Lim.
Please, City Manager, that's okay to call from a public because she is one of our partners in this. Is that
Yes.
okay to have her come back? Please come back, Miss Lim.
Okay. And I'm sorry I had to rush, I had to squeeze that in there. And I'm glad that you are asking a question about this, Councilwoman.
We are happy to have you here tonight. Thank you for being here.
To elaborate on that, since the county, and I also want to clarify that the ordinance has not yet, the enforcement start date has not yet been approved by the Board of Supervisors, because we have to do that through an ordinance amendment, and it's actually on the board's agenda for consideration for adoption in the first reading on February 9th. And we're hoping that everything will go well and it will be officially adopted at the second reading, which will happen later in February. So assuming that the Board of Supervisors will hopefully adopt the ordinance amendment to push out the enforcement start date of the ordinance by a year, we understand that there is now a 1-year gap period where we are kind of, where we are not able to do a lot of the education or actually mandatory requirements, including regulating the distribution of accessories. So understanding that, we are looking into doing an alternative program where we are going to be working with volunteers, and through our, we're going to be piloting it through a sustainability ambassador program. We're hoping to recruit 4 sustainability ambassadors who will be volunteers, who will reach out, engage with the different food facilities within unincorporated San Mateo County to educate them and train the food facilities on the benefits of reducing the accessories, or having them really limit the distribution of accessories to the public. And we will be launching that sometime at the end of the spring, early summer, in hopes of filling the gap year between now and hopefully the amended enforcement start date. And we are in the planning stage of developing all the different resources for training the ambassadors, as well as a lot of the educational collateral. And it's my plan to, once we develop those resources, to share that with the cities within the county, in hopes that the cities who are interested may also take those resources and start and implement a similar volunteer program within their jurisdictions, in case there is that grace period or gap year before the start of the enforcement date of the ordinance. And this is something that San Mateo is also looking into as well. So that could be an alternative.
Yes, so for clarification, say the city of Millbrae had a start date of July or January 1st of next year. Would it be possible for the county to change that? You said their start date hasn't been set yet either, is that clear?
San Mateo start date, they are actually considering pushing it out further into October 1st.
San Mateo or the county of San Mateo?
Okay, so county of San Mateo, we are hoping, we're hoping that the Board of Supervisors will adopt the amended enforcement start date of March 2022.
March 20, so to March of next year.
Yes.
Okay.
No, March of next year.
Yeah, 14 months.
I understand. Okay, thank you for that information. The regulation of accessories. I've learned a lot this night. So thank you to all the speakers, and the students and everybody who's been involved in this process. Greatly appreciated. I think this council is, of course, united in doing the ordinance. It's just kind of fine tuning it at this point in time. I do believe that we are at a critical point in time, and COVID has made it even exasperated that point, shall we say, because a lot of the restaurants have to separate things out and have to present them in these containers. And that's the tragedy of this current health crisis. So I would like to suggest, since our staff has been working with the restaurants and will continue to work with the restaurants, and the county has said that they will assist us in this process no matter what happens, I would like to move this forward with a January 1st date. And I want to note too that we have a lot of young people who are participating in this process right now, and they're the ones that go to some of these restaurants regularly. I know the city is giving out metal straws, and we can hope that our community participates more so in not asking for the accessories or telling them to leave them out, just helping out. I mean, it's something I think we need to do sooner rather than later. And I'm still exceptionally appalled at the trash I see people just throwing in the middle of the street. I really want us to start enforcing our littering ordinance, because I mean, it's just outrageous. So
thank you,
my
Councilman.
motion
If you
would be,
can you hold on to that and let two other council members or three speak up, and we'll come right back. Councilman Holliver.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to all the speakers who spoke out about this this ordinance. And I hope you're speaking. The speakers from many cities, not just from Millbrae. So I hope you're speaking at other council meetings around the county when these come up. And I do appreciate, the sentiment from Councilmember Pappen and from many of the speakers to move the start date up to January 1st. I mean, if it were up to me, I would say move it up to July 1st of this year. I don't think it should take that long for these restaurants to come into compliance. But with that said, I do agree with the recommendation of Ms. Ryder and Ms. Lim to stick with the March 25th, 2022 start date, just to be consistent with the county, since the county will be doing much of the heavy lifting with the outreach and the enforcement. And I don't think the 2+ month delay is going to be significant in the grand scheme of things. I know many restaurants are already doing compostable foodware. I've seen it from Millbrae restaurants in the last couple of weeks. So I'm sure that they will continue to phase in to compostable foodwares throughout the year. But I don't believe it's necessary at this time to move up start date, unless the county, Board of Supervisors decides to move up their start date. But I think it's useful to be consistent.
Thank you, Mr. Holliver. Mr. Fung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I tend to agree with Councilmember Holliver on all of this. And while we all have to keep in mind that we're still in a COVID time, and asking some of the other restaurants or some of the other drink surfacing, retail outlets, that these changes could mean more than them than to some of the other restaurants who just use takeout boxes. Because some of these, boba places or other tea serving places, or even hot drink serving places, they have this whole thing integrated into their delivery line and then their pre-packaging line. Having them to reinvest all of this could be a bit of a practice. I also would like to see our staff, being able to, I know that you guys already did, quite a bit of outreach. You guys sent a multilingual letter after February 11th of last year, as well as sending out a postcard before tonight's meeting. I'd like to ask our staff to, to give these, we only have a few of these, boba places or drink serving places, including Jamba Juice, for example, or even McDonald's. Give them a call and tell them that this is, forthcoming, and getting them educated about this new ordinance that is about to get enacted, to make sure that they are properly educated about it, understanding what changes is come before them. I think that'll go a long way before the second reading. So with that said, also understanding that the county has been putting a lot of effort in coordinating this whole thing, in terms of outreach and educations and whatever assistance that they're offering to these restaurants and food serving outlets. I think it'll be more consistent for us to be able to do this at the same start date as when the county is going to begin enacting this ordinance. So that would be my preference, and that would be my recommendation, that we stay consistent with the county's start date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fung. Vice Mayor Oliva, do you have any comments? I don't want to miss you.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, it's really enlightening to hear all the young people, and I would concur, and I'm really feel grateful for them to take the time out of the night to worry about the future. It's so important. But what exists today, I get a little nervous about, because when you think about, it's so easy, and I will ask, Councilmember Pappen and Councilmember Hullaber, when you buy a ream of paper, it's 500 pieces in a ream, right? And how long does it take you to get through that? Is a long time. So I just want to be courteous of everybody that's already purchased, like the bobas and the Jamba juices and the McDonald milkshake straws, that we are conscientious of people trying to be making a living in our city. I want to change, there's no doubt, but let's be courteous on how we implement this. And do we want it tomorrow? Yes, they need to know that. They need to know that we need change, but let's be also courteous to say that whatever you purchased, let's put a deadline on this, and let's move forward with you to get rid of whatever you have that's making you're living in your own home, and make it better for all of us.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a couple of questions and then a suggestion before a motion is made. And this might be for Ms. Lim from the county. One of the young people brought up that Half Moon Bay has a different start date. And if Millbrae did have a different start date, isn't that sending a message to the Board of Supervisors to potentially look at moving up the implementation date, even if it's February 1st as opposed to March 25th? And did you say, Ms. Lim, when this is going to the Board of Soups? Is it next week or the following?
Madam Schneider, yes, you are correct. Half Moon Bay, they are going to be the first jurisdiction in line to launch the ordinance. So their enforcement start date is early July of this year.
Okay.
They have a very specific concern, and it's because they are finding a lot of takeaway containers, mainly majority of them that made from plastic on the beaches. So they have a really special, unique situation that may not be common to a lot of the jurisdictions within the county. And because of a specific concern, the city council members were really aggressive in pushing this forward and having a more aggressive timeline than the county.
Thank you for that. You may not be aware, but during COVID, one of the hotels that were converted for housing for the homeless population was the Vagabond Hotel on Old Bayshore, right next to Millbrae, and they are getting 3 meals a day delivered to all of the occupants. And especially during good weather, the occupants are coming out to the levee right at the bay and eating. And a lot of that plastic was ending up directly into our bay. And if it weren't for the lovely volunteerism of a woman who started it here in Millbrae and then gathered others, it was becoming quite a problem out there. So it is I understand completely. Half Moon Bay relies on its aquatic environment, but yet all of us do. Another question. The city of Millbrae, I am very proud that when COVID hit, the city created a list of restaurants that were open for business. I am wondering if we could do something similar, that as we have businesses who have already converted to packaging that would comply with the new law, if we could celebrate them on a website, which would then be a way of encouraging the other restaurants as they do their procurement to start moving into that. In addition, as I said, the Lions had a really hard time, and I work in this industry, so I know the tricks, really hard time finding biodegradable, real, true biodegradable flatware, that we truly as a county and as a city have a list of where these things can be procured at a reasonable cost. And we could start working on that right now, well ahead of Half Moon Bay's implementation date. I also want to say to the young people here, you make me so happy. You make me so proud and confident of the future. And I hope that you will continue to speak out. All of you were just amazing with your facts and your presentation. If you need a letter to your teachers, I am happy to sign that for you. You did a great job tonight. I don't think we have the votes for a January 1st start date, but I wonder if the motion maker could say March 25th, 2022 or sooner, as the county approves it, with an encouragement from the city of Millbrae for the Board of Supervisors to start it earlier, say January 1st. Would we be able to make that motion? At least then we're sending the message to the Board of Supervisors that we want to be with you in solidarity and with enforcement and marketing, but we'd like to see it happen faster.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilman Holober. Sorry, Councilman Pappen, I don't think we had the votes.
No, Madam Mayor, I understand that. I would hope along those same lines that our staff would acknowledge any restaurants that achieve this goal prior to the deadline, so that we are then encouraging other restaurants and providers within our community to comply sooner. I think that's important. And I do think the city council has to really remember, when you're talking about the big chains, they've already been asked to do this on so many levels. So they're going to be making those changes anyway. So the sooner they come into compliance, the better. I would second the motion former Mayor Holober made. And hopefully we can get this moving along, and appreciate the county working with us so that we can achieve this sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further comments from council? I have one comment. I'm glad that Councilman Pappen brought up the difference between a chain restaurant, which will simply ship back plastic straws and send them to another part of the state or the country that still allows them. You know, there'll be a little trans-shipping, but it's no hardship. A lot of this is really looking at our mom and pop restaurants. And another one of our students, I think, talked about food. No, I think it was Mr. Clark. I believe that our restaurants, and we talked about this when we went to the outdoor dining ordinance, that we have encouraged them to use reusables, including reusable cups. So with our wind, we didn't have plastic cups flowing all over. So I think Millbrae was ahead of the game on making sure that our restaurants stay with reusables for outdoor dining. But if not, we should really be looking at that as the windy season approaches. With that, we have a motion and a second. City Clerk, could you
Madam, Madam Mayor.
Please, thank you, Ms. Kassman.
So can I clarify the date? Because I think it's really important when this council makes laws that you be very clear to our folks when those laws are going into effect.
Certainly.
I understand the desire to get this in as soon as possible, but at the same time to try to be consistent with the county. I'm wondering if we want to bring this back for a second reading after the February 9th meeting, at which Yun-Soo said that they will be presenting their first reading to the county, so we have a sense of when the county is going to be putting in their date. I don't think you can have a date on ordinance which says March 25th or sooner if the county does. So I'm just thinking, if the county is going forward on the 9th, which is a week and a half away, you know, why don't we see what the county does, and then we'll come back and clinch it and have our ordinance be consistent.
I like that idea. How can we do this with Zoom? I'm looking for shaking heads saying yes. or I think I'm seeing.
It's just a matter of not bringing back our second reading at the very next meeting, but bringing back our second reading for you, I guess, at
the 8th plus 14, the 24th, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. At that point, we will have a better idea.
And also, Madam Mayor, sorry, Madam Mayor, if I may. Yes. What if the start date of the county delay, further than March 25th, whatever it is, I don't know, based on their discussion, whatever technical difficulties or whatever discussions they have in the next week or so, so that the second reading could address some of those concerns, whatever is being discussed in the Board of Soups chamber.
Mm-hmm. Certainly this council, is not tied to the county's date. I mean, I think your desire is to be able to take advantage of your partnership with the county on this issue. And
absolutely.
Yeah, you certainly can go sooner. And if the county is hedging on even March 25th, this council may want to go ahead and implement our ordinance sooner. But it might be helpful to find out what the county is contemplating on February 9th.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Ms. Kassman.
So quick question, if we pass this tonight with the March date, could we modify it at our next meeting?
You can modify it, Council Member Pappen, but you can't modify it and enact it. So if you modified it at your next meeting, then you would have to wait until your following meeting to enact. So there has to be by law a minimum of 5 days between an amendment to an ordinance before you and its enactment.
Can we accept minor revisions?
Okay, hold on. Councilman Holiber and then Vice Mayor Oliva.
Yeah. Sorry, through the chair. Ms. Catherine, I know in the past we have accepted minor amendments to ordinances and on a second reading. If the only thing changing is the date of, that it goes into effect, wouldn't that be something that can be amended on the second reading?
I don't consider the enforcement date a minor change. When you look at change to an ordinance, it's usually more of a typo or something that's really non-substantive. But you're telling a whole industry in our city when at what point they are going to have to change, and I would view that more material.
Vice Mayor?
Well, I think Joan just answered the question, because I was saying that the amendment is kind of what's on the table here. Because if we have to amend it and wait 5 days, subject to when the county brings it forward, that doesn't make sense. So I think I have to speak in opposition to what's on the table here, and we better wait. And I think I'm going to speak in opposition to the what's on the table here, and I'm going to go towards waiting to see what the county council says, or the county supervisors say, to a date certain, and then we can make this decision.
Okay, so we've already got a motion and a second on the floor, so we would still have to go through with the vote. My guess is that the county has created this as a model ordinance and also an MOU for enforcement, that for them to keep changing their dates, which makes 21 other entities potentially have to flex past approvals and future approvals, that's unlikely. So my guess is, and with your permission, Council, I will try to be at this Board of Supervisors meeting, and I will be there to speak for it, both as a mayor of Millbrae, but as a commissioner of the statewide commission for recycling markets. And I doubt they would flex much. They've thought it through. They know how to run it out. So I hear what you're saying, Vice Mayor, but I think we need to vote on this tonight, and we send our message. And if, with your permission, I'd like to say the city of Millbrae, if we can work with our restaurants, with the county, and we can get there sooner, great. And with that, any further comments?
Well,
if I may, we were just advised by legal counsel that you have to put a date certain.
Yeah.
Right, it would be dated.
So
It'd be
You're
March
saying
25th.
right now, March 25th. That's right.
March 25th, 2022.
If we need to revise that, we can revise that.
Yeah, I was hearing Ms. Lim say that that was what it sounded to me like they had given a great deal of thought to the seasonal effect of a change and that they had come up with March 25th. So I think at this point, we can assume that that is going to be the recommendation, and the only issue is whether the County Board of Supervisors accepts that.
Okay, any further comments from
March
council?
25th, 2022, and we could revisit that if the county gives it other thought.
Correct.
So that's different than that's different than what Councilmember Pappen second, correct?
That's different than what Member Holliber originally motioned, because he motioned 25th of March 2022 with the option of moving to an earlier date. But I think we're now talking about having a March 25th, 2022 a date certain.
Well, actually, my request had been if the county changes its date, then we would move accordingly. But it sounds to me like at our February 24th, we would probably have to have a new first reading and then the second reading, the first council meeting in March. That's not, it should be fairly easy to do if that should happen. I doubt that the county is going to change.
Just for point of order, if that happens, then I think as our legal counsel was saying, we would have to come back and amend the ordinance if you adopt it tonight. So it can't be if this happens, it's a formal date, then it's an amendment. The other alternative is to continue this to the second meeting in February until we actually know what the county's going to do. And then we can bring the whole ordinance back, and then you can decide and take action on the ordinance, the second reading, and we don't have all of this, complexity, in the process.
I would recommend approving the first reading at this time, and then, we approve the second reading in the second February meeting. If we need to change the date, we can change the date then.
Thank you, Councilman Holliber.
New first reading.
It is getting late, everybody. It's 9:33. We've got 3 more items. So any further comments?
Mayor, I do have one technical question, though. I think City Attorney Castman said that it's a significant enough of a change
Understood.
that it could not be done at a second reading. So,
Yeah, correct.
so waiting for the county to act and then at the second reading changing it based on the county is not appropriate.
Changes, that would be the new first reading.
That would be the new first reading.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Understood.
So it was under, okay.
I agree with the mayor. I think it's highly unlikely that they would change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure everyone.
Okay. Vice Mayor, hopefully this is the last comment so we can keep moving. Thank you.
My last comment, excuse me.
No. All of ours. So we can keep moving.
But if we continue this, then we might leave the window open for all these young folks that came here today, that we might be able to go differently than whatever the county approves. So if in fact we leave it open, and for the next meeting, we could actually pinpoint the date that we would like as Millbrae constituents.
Possibly even sooner.
Yes.
I also think should the county go sooner, we can then do another first and second and go sooner. I would rather we get this off our plate today, and then maybe we're good at the second February meeting to approve as is and reduce the workload on staff entirely and not try to second guess what the county is trying to do. So with that, I would like, if there's no further comments.
You need a second.
I thought we had a second.
You don't
Gina,
have a second. Somebody else can second this one, and then we'll take the vote.
No, well, why don't we, Councilman Holliber, could you state the motion that you had made that I thought Councilwoman Pappen, and we haven't changed it. I thought it was in line, Councilwoman Pappen, with what you wanted.
Okay, my motion would be to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance and authorize the mayor to speak on the city's behalf at the February 9th Board of Supervisors meeting about potentially bringing the county ordinance sooner. Is that what we agreed to?
I thought you had a start date. Did you have a start date? I thought you
The
needed
start
a
date
start.
is as stated in the ordinance, February 25th, 2022. Yeah.
You mean March 25th?
March 25th, 2022, not January.
That's how your ordinance has been presented. Right.
Correct, as presented.
Right, so we're not making any modification to the proposed ordinance, except the fact that we're asking the mayor to appear in front of the Board of Supervisor meeting. What is it, February 8th, whatever?
February
9th, excuse me. So, and bring the result back to the council before the next reading.
Correct.
Right. Understanding that I don't think they're going to change, but you never know.
Correct.
I think it's too complicated for them to change, given the
So
multiple jurisdictions.
Councilmember Fung, are you going to second this?
Yeah, I'll second that. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Ms. Tran, could you please call the vote?
Councilmember Oliver,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Councilmember Pappen,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Oliva,
Aye.
Mayor Snyder.
Aye.
The City Council waived the first reading and introduced the ordinance repealing Chapter 6.40 for the Millbrae Municipal Code and adopted a new Chapter 6.4 regulating the use of disposable food serviceware by food facilities and city facilities by a vote of 5-0. And for Mayor Snyder to attend the February 9th San Mateo Board of Supervisors meeting to advocate for an earlier start date on the ordinance. The county ordinance.
Very good. Thank you. I brought this up during discussion, Councilwoman Pappen, when we can get our Economic Vitality Committee going, perhaps you could bring this to them and have them keep an eye on it and make sure that we're reaching out with that committee to help our restaurants and frankly, all of our food providers, including Lions, Rotarians, Self-Help for the Elderly, et cetera. Thank you for that. All right.
I'm sorry, one more, Mayor, just real quick.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams, if I can ask the staff to make a little bit of extra effort to make sure that all the drink serving outlets within the city is aware of this ordinance, I would appreciate it.
We will include that in our outreach effort. Yes, noted.
Okay, with no further comments and noting that it's 9:39, we have 3 items left plus council comments. And staff, I hope you can please present on item 9, an informational report on SB 1383, reducing short-lived climate pollutants in California. If we have any of the young people, that really means getting organics out of landfills.
All right, thank you again, Mayor Schneider and members of the City Council. Let me bring the presentation up and we will start right away. All right, SB 1383 with the requirement to reduce organics that go to the landfill. Megan will once again co-present with me and we'll start with some background information. CalRecycle, which is the Department of Resources Recycling and Recovery, did a waste characterization study in 2014, and they found that organic waste comprised 2/3 of California's waste stream. And this includes green waste, food waste, paper, and cardboard. Of that, 18% of what was being disposed was found to be food waste. Senate Bill 1383 was adopted in 2016, and the regulations were just recently finalized, requires reducing organics disposal by 75% and recovering 20% of what is currently disposed of as edible food. I wanted to point out that these are statewide goals and the requirements do not fall on individual jurisdictions. CalRecycle is currently studying how much of the state's food waste stream is edible in an effort to address food insecurity, knowing that 6 million Californians, 1 in 5 children, are food insecure. Landfilling organic waste leads to the anaerobic breakdown of material and creates methane, which is 20 times stronger than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. This bill supports the state's 2017 short-lived climate pollutants reduction strategy, which aims to reduce black carbon, methane, tropospheric ozone, as well as fluorinated gases. These pollutants contribute are the largest contributors to greenhouse gases after carbon dioxide and are responsible for 45% of what is currently driving climate change. Well, I'll outline the different milestone years and we'll go into a little more detail about what the regulations are, and throughout the presentation also address where we're in compliance and outline that as well. SB 1383 establishes aggressive organic waste reduction targets. The first milestone was to reduce the amount of landfilled organic waste, the amount that ends up in the landfill, by 50% by the end of last year. These regulations go into effect in 2022. The next milestone is 2025, and that is to reduce 75% of organic waste that ends up in the landfill, with the base year being 2014. By 2025, the goal is to recover 20% of edible food that's currently being disposed. These targets are consistent with the statewide goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. For the statewide targets to be met, it means jurisdictions will need to implement programs that are not already in place. The milestone measures for 2022 include adopting an enforcement-oriented ordinance, providing organics collection to all residents and businesses, establishing an edible food recovery program, conducting outreach and education, procuring recyclable and recovered organic products such as compost, and securing access so there is enough capacity for the organic waste, recyclables, as well as edible food recovery. By 2024, jurisdictions are required to take enforcement action against non-compliant entities. So jurisdictions are required to provide a source-separated organic waste collection service to all residents and businesses. Organics will be prohibited from being placed in garbage carts. If you live here in Millbrae, you know that we have a 3-container source-separated residential collection service. And also there are separated collection services for our businesses. The legislation will require monitoring for contamination, and we will work closely with the South San Francisco Scavenger Company, who will help with this effort. These requirements will also apply to entities that aren't under local control, such as schools. CalRecycle will oversee those type of state entities. I had mentioned that edible food recovery was another element of this legislation, and it applies to a variety of food waste generating businesses. This is broken down into 2 tiers by compliance, by type and size. The first is tier 1, and that's commercial edible food generators, the milestone being 2022. And this will affect supermarkets, grocery stores that are 7,500 square feet or larger, food service distributors, and wholesale food markets. The second tier affects generators in 2024, and that would be for our local restaurants that have 250 or more seats or greater than 5,000 square feet, hotels that have on-site food facility or 200 and more rooms, other types of facilities and venues and such. I'm really happy to report that the Office of Sustainability here in the county is creating a countywide edible food recovery program for the requirements of SB 1383, and those efforts are underway. We've had different meetings with the county and in fact hosted a countywide meeting here probably about 1.5 years ago. They are currently working with Second Harvest of Silicon Valley, the Pacifica Resource Center, Nuestra Casa Palo Alto to provide services to increase the capacity and infrastructure for grocery rescue and redistribution. They're also working with Fresh Approach, which is a nonprofit organization providing public education and outreach on food waste prevention and preservation, which includes providing workshops and demonstrations for the affected businesses. And so really want to thank the county again. They're doing a great job on this, and it will help all of the jurisdictions in this county to meet this portion of the legislation. Megan will now outline the education requirements and other requirements as well.
Thank you, Shelley. So SB 1383 also requires that jurisdictions conduct education and outreach to all businesses and residents about their collection service requirements, contamination, standards, self-haul requirements, and compliance. They are also to reach out to commercial edible food generators about edible food donation requirements and available edible food recovery organizations. There will also be a minimum procurement target linked to population, and we will be notified of that target by January 1st, 2022. And jurisdictions will be required to procure recycled and covered organic products in two different categories. The first includes compost, renewable natural gas, and electricity. And jurisdictions can decide the mix of those materials that they'd like to use to meet their targets. The second involves paper procurement, and jurisdictions must purchase at least 75% of their paper products with recycled content of at least 30% post-consumer content. Paper products must also be recyclable, meeting Federal Trade Commission guidelines. The city of Millbrae is already meeting a number of these procurement requirements. For paper products, the city purchases 100% post-consumer recycled content copy paper, other recycled content paper products, and custodial recycled paper products. Regarding compost and mulch, Parks obtains wood chips and mulch and purchases compost. And then regarding biomass-derived electricity and renewable natural gas, the treatment plant uses generated methane gas, and South San Francisco Scavengers anaerobic digester system creates clean natural gas to run their fleet. Under SB 1383, jurisdictions must also adopt an ordinance that requires compliance with Cal Green codes and the Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. This ensures that jurisdictions provide readily accessible areas for recycling containers in their commercial and multifamily units. They meet the Cal Green requirement for recycling 65% of their C&D waste, and it requires new construction and landscaping projects to meet the MWILL requirements. Millbrae is actually already meeting these requirements through the Cal Green Building Code and MWILL, which is included in the Millbrae Code. Regarding organic waste recycling infrastructure, there are about 180 compost facilities in California, and 34 of them accept food waste. So SB 1383 will require 50 to 100 new or expanded organic waste recycling facilities in order to recycle the goal of another 20 to 25 million tons of organic waste a year. For Millbrae, our facilities include South San Francisco Scavengers anaerobic digester system, which you can see the first three images in the bottom are from their facility, as well as the Z-Best composting facility. And the county is also working with Fresh Approach and the Rural Conservation District on composting facilities, infrastructure, and community composting. And here's another kind of brief overview of the inspection and enforcement timeline for SB 1383. So you can see here by January 1st, 2022, jurisdictions must adopt an enforcement ordinance. Compliance and education will take place from 2022 to 2024, in which violators are identified and educated on other activities. And then compliance monitoring and the enforcement will begin in 2024.
CalRecycle will begin their oversight in 2022. They'll oversee and monitor compliance and make sure cities are implementing these different measures. And if there are violations, they may authorize a corrective action plan or issue notices of violations. I just wanted to mention, in working with CalRecycle for a number of years, I had this discussion earlier with our city manager. They typically work with jurisdictions in a way to transition to the legislation. And I wouldn't expect them to just dole out violations without first working with jurisdictions and allowing a timeline to do so. The next steps include drafting an enforcement-oriented ordinance. CalRecycle has provided a variety of tools on their website, including template ordinance, outreach and education. The county has started drafting their enforcement-oriented ordinance that we may be able to optimize on. It also includes evaluating an amendment to the franchise agreement with the South San Francisco Scavenger Company and continuing to work with the county on edible food recovery and with South San Francisco Scavenger on expanding programs. Last, I wanted to mention there are a variety of waste prevention and recycling programs in place for our residents, businesses, schools, and city facilities and departments to prevent waste, provide recycling opportunities, and meet AB 939 and related regulations. A summary of these programs is attached to the staff report, as well as a recycling report. Thank you. That concludes the presentation, and we're happy to answer questions.
Thank you. City Council, any comments? I don't see any hands. I know this is informational only. Staff, I wanted to let you know the number of people who contact me, residents in Millbrae, who live in apartment complexes of 4 units or fewer, who do not have access to compost or food scrap. Again, the loveliness of the Millbrae community is usually their neighbors in a single family home offer their yard waste bin. But I hope that as we look at implementing programs, that we really are looking at the apartment units, 4 units and smaller.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So the legislation will affect these various entities and multifamily dwellings. Right now, everyone has access to the programs, but it does take the approval of the building management or owners to start this type of program. It's always challenging in the multifamily dwellings with contamination and such. However, the programs are available and in the future will be required.
Excellent. It can't happen fast enough for the people who want to do the right thing and just don't have access. It also makes me wonder if their landscapers are taking away their green waste or if the green waste is ending up in the bin. So another question, and maybe this could be referred to a future city council, Millbrae School District, Union High School District. But as we roll out the food reuse program, where do the school districts fit within this?
Well, they would fall under the control of the state. Cal Recycle would work with them and it would be under their responsibility. We do not have control basically over any state entity. Private schools are a different thing. That would fall under these requirements.
So we would possibly, if St. Dunstan's cafeteria had reusable food, it would fall in, but Taylor Middle School may not.
I don't know that. I think, it's dependent on size and what they have. And certainly the information can be provided to them either way in an effort to recover the edible food that they may have at their facility.
So if they wanted to join in with the Second Harvest and the 3 other companies creating basically a collection route, they could if they wanted to, but they're not required to. We just need to make that clear. Whatever the rules are, let's just make it clear.
Right.
And then it is my dream this year to establish a formal gleaning program within all of us who grow excess fruit or vegetables. How do you think that might roll out here in Millbrae over the next year?
That is a different type of program. It would not fall under these requirements. Right now, this is affecting within those 2 tiers, the size and type of the business. That is something that could fall under some other program. I have heard of that type of program. It's wonderful. It brings food to those that need it. As of now, it's not a part of this program. We can certainly talk to the county, but I think they have their hands full just trying to get what is available and distributing it to those that need it through the different organizations.
So just a heads up, with my other hat on, with the Organics Committee, they believe that the state will be coming out with regulations or guidelines for gleaning programs. So it may be coming to us sooner rather than later. It's just my dream to get it going. And for everybody watching, gleaning programs, like in the front of my house, I have a very happy lemon tree and the neighborhood loves to borrow lemons, take lemons, that's cool. But if we can collect that produce that otherwise falls on the ground and get it to a food bank, produce full of vitamin C, etc., are getting to people in need. So it's really a great program. It's been for decades volunteer, but it would be nice to have some center point to run things past. And we don't have an entity within Millbrae that does that. So it's on my wish list this year. So with that, thank you. Any comments from the public? I am not seeing any comments from the public. Oh, thank you. Please go ahead, City Clerk.
I do see two hands raised, and it's
I'm
Yin Ip and also Teresa Montgomery that raised their hand.
Thank you. Remind me to scroll my list up.
Ms. Hoyen Ying.
Yes, this is Hoyen Ip again. So it sounds like the city is doing quite well so far with the regulations. So I want to say thank you for that. I also want to support Mayor for her wish to to do a better job of picking up food from the neighborhood and distribute to the needy people. I actually was talking to Cal Recycle today, and they told me they updated the data, which is probably in a couple of slides here in the PowerPoint, that since the pandemic started, food insecurity got worse. Now, nearly 1 in 4 people in California face food insecurity. So I think this issue, we cannot address it soon enough. So thank you for doing all that. I have a question though. So in the PowerPoint, in the presentation, mentioned the state need to add 50 to 100 new or expanded organic waste recycling facilities. So what are cities' role in this? I'm just curious. Hopefully I asked the right question. Thank you.
Let's finish with public comment and then come back to that question. Thank you, Ms. Ip. Good points. 1 in 4 people with food insecurity in California is absolutely not acceptable. Ms. Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. And also thank you, Shelley and Megan, for such a great report. You did an amazing job condensing all of that information into digestible format. I'm Teresa with South San Francisco Scavenger, and I just want to take a moment to say that our company and the industry association that we belong to, which is called Resource Recovery Coalition of California, have contributed to the development and refinement of SB 1383 for several months, if not, I believe it's been a couple of years. And we are excited and geared up to do our part and look forward to working with city staff. I just wanted to say one more time that it is important to note that we already have the necessary collection programs and outreach channels in place. And we are so fortunate to have the county taking lead and already beginning work on the plan for edible food recovery, because I do agree that's very important. And thanks in part to the city's support and vision, we have our anaerobic digestion facility, which effectively turns organic waste into fuel, and in so doing helps meet 1383's procurement requirements. That digestion facility is really putting the city of Millbrae ahead of many, many other California jurisdictions who are going to be struggling to meet that procurement requirement. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public?
I do not see any additional raised hands.
To go back to Ms. Ip's comment, San Mateo County does not have a commercial composting operation within our borders. In the state plan, I hope, most counties, it's a little questionable when you're in a high desert community, that we will have commercial composting operations as close to point of generation. It's a great job thing, and I know I have been advocating it for San Mateo County to get a commercial composting operation, likely coastside. It does require land, and it's really nice if you can be close to agricultural lands, who will be your main market for those materials. But right now, our digestate from the anaerobic digestion goes down to Zbest near Morgan Hill. So it's traveling quite a distance before it is turned and fully processed. So there's a lot of work. There are composting operations in California that have waited, trying to get through the California Air Resources Board for decades to get their permits. And that's what we're trying to fast track.
I should mention to address the capacity and infrastructure. This task falls on the counties to gauge the capacity. They'll work with the cities to see what the needs are and gauge the capacity, and they're required to report that in 2022 to Cal Recycle. So the city will work with them, and we're very fortunate, as Teresa said, to have programs in place and mechanisms for our organic waste.
Excellent. And again, we are actually truly leaders because we have South City Scavengers with the anaerobic digester. I can brag about it statewide all the time. So we are, it truly is an amazing process, and grateful for them being our community partner. Ms. Pappen.
Madam Mayor, you did mention, I think it's gleaning. Just want to note that next door, actually, a lot of people have been exchanging fruits that they grow. And so there's kind of an informal process where that is going on. And, Millbrae, it's a great place to grow things. So hopefully we can expand on that.
It is. The difference between, and that is a great example of sharing food, it's the gleaning programs getting the produce to the food banks so that they can get it out that way. That's that missing piece that we have. But again, I am hopeful that the community will step up. Maybe we'll create a community garden club that can become the point of operations for it. But thank you. No further questions from council. This is an informational thank you. I'd probably point out one more thing. I'm in my League of Cities training right now, and the number of cities at the LCC training, the Zoom training, complaining about the specific law is pretty significant. There's going to be a great deal of pushback on this. Not coming from our region, but coming from Morgan Hill in Southern California. So thank you. I'm sorry, I have to move us on. Thank you, staff. Shelley, I think this is your last meeting. Thank you. We don't get to have a kickoff or a party or coffee or cake, but thank you for your years. We've worked together for decades. You will be sorely missed. And Ms. Kelly, welcome and thank you for stepping up. So,
thank you.
Thank you
for all the opportunities. I've appreciated it. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
And have fun.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 10. If staff has a presentation on the city manager to execute a supplemental agreement with the state agency on, I'm trying to shorten this, citywide safety assessment for local roads planning grant. City manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I would just like to introduce Mr. Key Lim, our Public Works Director, for a presentation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Yes, we will miss Shelley. And tonight we have in front of you a resolution approving a funding agreement with the State of California Department of Transportation, or more commonly known as Caltrans, for the local roadway safety plan project. So tonight I would like to talk about three things. First, I'd like to talk about what is an LRSP, what is the local roadway safety plan? And secondly, why do we need one? And lastly, what are the next steps we would need to do in order to comply with this new requirement? So with that, I would like to share my screen. Can all of you see the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So like I mentioned, what is a local roadway safety plan? So a local roadway safety plan is a plan that we are using roadway collision data and risk factor. So we analyze this data and we develop a framework to identify, analyze, and prioritize roadway safety improvements on our street networks. So with that project, we are actually going to be borrowing a big components of the traffic calming policy that the council already reviewed and approved sometime in late 2020. And then with that, we'll be focusing on the 4 E's traffic transportation safety principles. So we begin with education. We like to educate our young drivers how to follow safety rules, how to follow the driver license guidelines, a handbook, stop, come to a complete stop at a stop sign. And also, when we see a traffic signal turn yellow, we slow down, we do not speed up. So those are the education we like to implement early on to our young drivers. And second, we talk about enforcement. That would start with warnings and citations from the law enforcement agency. And thirdly, we want to, this is something fairly new, and we traffic engineers added that component to the original 3 E's, and now we are calling it the 4 E's, which is empowerment. So we want to empower those drivers that follow and obey traffic safety rules. And lastly, which is the last resort, that's going to involve a lot of money, and that is engineering, so that we would be changing, modifying roadway configuration in order to achieve the safety goals that we want. So with this grant, Caltrans will be providing the city with a $40,000 funding to start the planning process, and that require a $5,000 local match. So again, what is a local roadway safety plan? It is a plan that we like to use to enhance safety for all modes, and that include drivers and pedestrians and bicyclists, and also to reduce fatality on our city streets, and also to minimize severe accident that cause severe bodily injury. And the plan would also define the safety priorities, and it is a highway safety improvement plan requirement, the HSIP program. That's why we are receiving a $40,000 grant from the state. And just some background on the HSIP program. The state allocated $10 million in 2019 for this program, and again they allocate additional $8 million in 2020 for the local roadway safety plan. And the plan will be used to prioritize safety investments, since we all understand that financial resources are very constrained. So we want to use the limited financial resources we have at the best location that we can bring the best returns in our investment. And also at the same time, we'll be developing local partnership, especially with our state partner at the Department of Transportation. So this is the next step. So it is a living document. We will be updating the document. The document is required to be updated at least every 5 years. So as part of our traffic calming policy, we'll be utilizing the data we have, and then continue to update the document. And with that, we will come up with some safety projects that we will identify in the plan. And with that plan, we'll continue to monitor the effectiveness of our program. So for instances, we will be looking at the numbers of fatalities and also the injury collisions over time. And we also be looking at citations and also police warning over a certain duration. And also lastly, public comments. I'm sure that City Council and some of our city staff we have received many emails from our residents and motorists when they run into traffic congestions and malfunctioning signal. So we'll be looking at those complaints. Like I mentioned earlier, the plan is required to be updated at least every 5 years. And lastly, we'd like to ask the council to adopt a resolution approving the program supplemental agreement with the state and authorize the city manager to execute the subject PSA with Caltrans. And with that, that's concluded the staff report. And with that, I can answer any question the council may have.
Thank you, Public Works Director Lim. Questions, comments from council? I don't see any. Councilman Pappen, are you okay? Miss Oliva, was that a hand up? Vice Mayor?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, I would say thank you for getting in another grant. And I know the city has gotten really good at putting our projects on the website and showing the work. Director Lim, you're going to do that for this project?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And just as someone who has read the city's bicycle pedestrian grants at CCAG, that data that you showed on the last slide is really important to include in grant applications. It was one of the things that the city was missing in the grants that we did not get awarded to. So it's great to see that you're adding that data. With that, I think I need a motion. Can someone make a motion?
Motion to approve, Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, I believe I heard Councilman Fung make the motion to approve. Mr. Lee, you needed a motion for, is it one item or two items?
Just one item, motion to approve the funding agreement with Caltrans and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Very good. So with that motion by Mr. Fung, seconded by Vice Mayor Oliva. Any further discussion? Please call the question.
Councilmember Holliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Councilmember Pappen,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Leva,
Aye.
Mayor Snyder.
Aye.
Okay. The City Council approved the resolution authorizing city manager to execute the program supplement agreement to number B69 to administer agency state agreement for state-funded projects number 00029S for citywide safety assessment for local roads plan grant by the vote of 5-0.
Thank you, City Clerk. And thank you, Mr. Lim.
Thank you.
Okay, last item tonight we're still under the 11 o'clock time. It's item number 11. If staff could give us a presentation on the traffic calming projects on Millbrae Avenue and Tioga Drive, as well as the Hawk system.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I'd like to introduce Key Lim, our Public Works Director, for a presentation. And we have one council member that has 2% left on their laptop battery that may have to log out. They left their charge at the office, just FYI.
That's good. Let's get it going. That's
All
me.
right.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, member of the City Council, Key Lim, Public Works Director. Again, I will make this quick, make sure I can talk within the 2% of the battery power. But before I get started, I do like to give a shout out to our young engineer, Bill Jang. He's on the meeting with us tonight, and I don't want to take credit for something that, I did not complete the initial application. Mr. Jang was the person instrumental in helping us getting these TFCA grant. So with that, I will share my presentation material with you. Can everyone see the presentation?
I can. Thank you.
I'm going to get to the front. So tonight, again, we have in front of you a resolution approving a grant with CCAG for TFCA. TFCA stands for Transportation Funds for Clean Air. So CCAG in July of 2020 issued a call for project for a TFCA grant, and they gave us a very short timeline to apply. We had about a month or so to put together a project application, and the project guidelines require that this project that can be completed very quickly. So we did submit not one, but 2 applications. So we were notified after CCAG makes its selection that we have been selected. Very lucky to be receiving some partial funding in October of 2020. So a little background on TFCA. The total funding for last year was only $550,000 for the entire San Mateo County, and the project also required a minimum of 10% local match. So we submitted 2 applicants, like I mentioned before. The first application is the traffic calming project at the 2 intersections at Helen and Tioga, and also between Poplar, Elder, and Millbrae Avenue near the skate park along the Spur Trail. So these projects are identified in the traffic calming policy that we have presented to City Council on October 13th of 2020. So just a little background on traffic calming policy. We started planning for traffic calming policy in early 2019. So we conducted the first ever public workshop in July of 2019, and we actually got well over 50 people attending that workshop that night, and that was actually a very good turnout. And we took a lot of comments and information from those attendees, and then we conducted a second workshop in October of 2019, and the second workshop more tailored to resolving those identified problems with the resident. And the second project that we submitted to CCAG was actually a very cutting-edge ITS, Intelligent Transportation System type of project. So it is a virtual bicycle and pedestrian detection system on the signalized intersection, because we do hear a lot of complaints from bicyclists when they get to an intersection, the video detection system or the traffic loop is not picking up their signal, and the signal is not cycling through for them. So they ended up waiting at the intersection for an extended period of time. So these are the quick build project location. The first location, Helen and Tioga, where my cursor is. And the second project is under the same application is along Millbrae Avenue at around Poplar Avenue near the Millbrae skate park. So let's dive a little bit into the project. So along Millbrae Avenue, this is the improvement. The yellow, those are striping that we are going to be putting in there. And in particular at the Poplar Avenue intersection, we are doing some sort of a sidewalk extension or bulked out. So the idea is that we already have a crosswalk at Poplar to bring people into the skate park. We want to reduce the distance where a pedestrian would have to walk in front of a moving vehicle. So we are putting this bulked out. I think you probably have seen some that we have recently completed at the intersections of South Ashton and Millbrae Avenue, and that would be exactly the same concept there. And at the Helen and Tioga intersection, we are doing also the same thing. We are putting in some of those bulked out and then refresh the crosswalk at those intersections to make them more visible and adding some traffic warning signage. And then we do the stripings along Helen and Tioga intersection. So this is a quick build application that we submitted, one of the two. And now I'm going to be talking about the second application that we submitted to CCAG, and this is the bite detection project. So this project is actually going to be, we're going to be needing to work with Caltrans because most of these intersections along El Camino and also a couple of those along Millbrae Avenue, such as those at El Camino and US 101, those are owned and maintained by Caltrans. So the project would install those antenna, if you will, at those intersections, and then the bicyclists and pedestrians, they would download a certain app onto their phone. So to the GPS on the cell phone, the antenna would be able to pick up their signal and hold the green light for them so they don't have to experience delay when they try to cross a busy intersection. However, we did not pick this project because this project gonna require a little longer time to complete. First off, we need to secure permission, go to a permitting process with Caltrans in order to do that. And secondly, this project was a lot more expensive. The estimate at the time last year when we submitted the application, they were closer to $200,000. So this is how the scoring worked out with CCAG. Our projects are ranked 5 and 6. So once the first 4 projects were awarded by CCAG, the $550,000 grant fund was reduced to about $90,000. So we were asked by CCAG if we would be willing to receive partial funding. So after some discussion internally, we decided that we were going to go with Project 5, which is the quick build project about traffic calming at Helen, Tioga, and Millbrae and Poplar Avenue. And the cost was a little bit cheaper to come up to be about $119,000, and the local match would be about $30,000 for that. So if the council approves the funding agreement tonight, we will begin the final design immediately, and hopefully we'll get this project done within, hopefully by the end of this year. So like I said, tonight we are seeking council to adopt a resolution accepting the TFCA grant and authorize city staff to execute a funding agreement with CCAG. With that conclude the staff report, and with that I would love to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. I see at least one council person, Councilwoman Pappen, and then Mr. Holliber.
Yeah, I apologize to everybody for walking around with my computer. I have a leak. So I was trying to get something to clean it up with. It's like, my apologies on that front.
At least it's raining though.
Yeah, I know. It was just the rain. It's coming through the window there. Sorry about that. Trying to clean it up. The MTC tomorrow is going to be distributing a lot more money for shovel-ready projects just like this. So if we have any more that staff can get ready to go, the application process is really short. please keep going with these kind of things, and CCAG will be like ready to distribute the funds. So I encourage some of the projects you just put to the side may still get funding this year. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank you,
wonderful.
Councilwoman, question. The MTC funds, do they go to CCAG before they come out, or is that the mechanism?
CCAG distributes them. So CCAG is about to announce, and the city staff need to, just give them whatever you got. You can probably call Sandy Wong in advance. Just whatever you have ready, please. Some funding is about to become available very quickly.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Holliber.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation and for these projects. These are useful projects, and fully support this. The only question I have, I know we've received some comments from residents on Park Boulevard requesting some work to be done there in terms of traffic calming. Also, I believe there was a resident requesting some work at the corner of both Helen and Laurel as well. So I'm just curious if there's any update on those requests, if those are things that we're currently looking into and potential candidates for grant funding.
Yes, Council Member Holliver, we are currently actually working on the Park Boulevard project. We are looking at the complaint from those residents, and we are coming up with some tier 1 and tier 2 type of pilot project that we'll be introducing. Due to this COVID restriction, it's a little difficult for us to do site meetings. So I'm hoping that we could eventually conduct a site meeting and doing some temporary striping. And as far as Helen and Laurel, it is on our to-do listing, and it is there are some recommendation in the traffic calming policy that we can borrow from, and that should be a fairly simple project to implement. And we are looking forward to the MTC grant funding guideline that hopefully will be issued tomorrow, and we'll continue to monitor those external funding opportunity, and then we'll jump right in there with those quick build projects.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holliber. Mr. Fung.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Lim, for all these applications for these traffic calming measures. They're excellent, and that's exactly what we need. And I was going to say exactly the same thing as Councilmember Holliber just said, because I've also spoken to some of the neighbors on Park Boulevard, Park Avenue, and they've been asking for some traffic calming measure there as well, because there's been a lot of speeding cars along that area. And also on the lower Helen, which is also sort of a black spot there. There's been a lot of cars coming downhill. It's really straight, it's really quick, and there's no stop sign. And some of the cars that is parked there are constantly getting hit on a regular basis on a lower Helen Drive. So that's something that if CCAG and MTC is able to dole out some more money, some more grant funding, we should seize the opportunity and take advantage of it and get these things taken care of, so that these traffic issues can be dealt with and not be a danger to our residents. Thank you so much, Director Lim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, one quickie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if there's any way we can track Teslas being test drived on Millbrae Avenue, I think we should start getting reimbursed for that, because I know for a fact the dealership test drives on our street frequently. Just want to note they should be paying their fare.
A special vehicle miles traveled fee on that.
It'll be okay for Lucid though.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's fine. Exactly
that's
right. There, yes.
I believe we've lost the Vice Mayor. Mr. Lim, couple of questions. When we did the Green Infrastructure Project, the BPAC grant on Millbrae Avenue with the bulb outs, there was a little bit of pushback from the public in understanding what bulb outs can do. A lot of people saying, well, golly, now I've got to make an even wider right turn from Millbrae Avenue onto Ashton. As we do this project on Millbrae Avenue and Helen Drive at Tioga, it's an opportunity for us to train our residents. Have you guys thought about how we might roll this information out whether it's using our communications tools. I just think this is an opportunity to learn from the bulb outs at Millbrae Avenue, which I frankly adore, but the public doesn't understand how they really do make it safer for pedestrians. And they see it only as, golly, it's harder for me to drive now.
We are planning to utilize our social media's account to do outreach. Hopefully we can be successful, and we'll continue to be blasting the project informations out there. Potentially we have a link on the traffic calming policy, so maybe we'll highlight that on our city website, especially under Public Works Department. So let me think about a couple ways to try to capture this audience out there.
That would be fantastic. I think, you know, I was in Oakland for an ABAG meeting before COVID, and they have red painted so much of their downtown where they can't afford to put out bulb outs, but the painting on the asphalt is beginning to train the community that the roads are going to be changing. And when I read the local newspaper, they're complaining about it, but it's a good way to start education. My other question, and I agree with Councilman Pappen, thank you so much for getting these shovel-ready small projects. That's a direction that CCAG BPAC wants to go. Every grant funding cycle, we have leftover dollars, and the cities that have shovel-ready programs, or the term that I'm going blank on, this is the new way to capture that funding. So good job there. And my last comment, if anybody's following this from our bike pedestrian community, there are openings on the CCAG BPAC for public members. And I know we have a couple of bicycle advocates here in Millbrae. I would love to see another Millbrae person on that committee. And so please apply. There are at least 2 openings, if not 3, for the public sector. With that, can we have a motion to adopt the resolution and exactly how?
So moved.
Motion from Councilman Fung.
Second.
Second from Councilman Holober. Any further discussion? Ms. Tran, if we can do roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holober.
Aye.
Councilmember Fung.
Aye.
Councilmember Pappen.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Oliva is excused. Mayor Snyder.
Aye.
Okay. The City Council approved the resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works to sign a transportation fund for clean air grant agreement for pedestrian bulb out and crosswalk improvement on Millbrae Avenue, Poplar Avenue, and Helen Drive and Tioga Drive traffic calming project by the vote of 4-0 to 1, with Vice Mayor Oliva excused.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, City Clerk. With that, we have council comments. It's not quite 11. We have a new council member, so I want him to be able to comment out on things for the public. By law, and because I'm in my LCC training, anytime a council member is asking for reimbursement, they must report out on those meetings at a council comment. But generally, this is our way to update each other and the community on all of the other committees that we serve on, because we can't talk to each other due to the Brown Act. So I'm going to start with Councilman Holober, but in the future, I'll start rotating around. I'm not trying to catch anybody off guard, but Mr. Holober, if you could go first tonight.
Yes, thank you. So I attended the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. There was a discussion about the disc golf course. I know this came to the council, I think, either last year or might have been 2019. A discussion about having a disc golf course on the Spur Trail property over near Mills. The Parks and Rec Commission had previously decided not to move forward with that location and to pursue other locations. So the property currently being considered is the portion of the Spur Trail off of Lomita Avenue. It would be a very small course, maybe 6 holes or so. So certainly not something that the disc golf enthusiasts would necessarily use, but more for beginners, more casual players. So the department is going to move forward with contacting residents, neighbors in that area, and to studied the feasibility of having disc golf there, but no formal decision has been made yet. It was also mentioned that our recreation staff has been in contact with the San Mateo County Parks Department about opening up Millbrae Serra Park, basically in that same location off of Lomita, so you'd be able to access Millbrae Serra Park from that portion of the spur trail and have it connect. So those discussions have been very positive. Hopefully that will be realized very shortly. I also attended the Sister Cities Commission meeting last night. They discussed the new friendship cities with Dongguan and Ramallah. Apparently the Dongguan friendship city still has to be approved over there. The Dongguan has not yet approved it. There's also some question about whether Dongguan was the correct city or whether it should be some type of a smaller administrative region within Dongguan. So I think there's still a little bit of ambiguity there, and we're going to work with our contacts at the local trade office to help get that finalized. And then also with Ramallah as well. And I think there's going to be some outreach to some of the Millbrae community from Ramallah to help facilitate that agreement going forward. And then also I was appointed to the CMEC Community Committee, Congestion Management and Environmental Quality. We had a meeting, first meeting of the year yesterday. As Councilmember Pappen mentioned, there is some funding from MTC that will be coming to CCAG in the coming months. And yeah, one of the things they're looking at is maybe some of the projects that did not get funding in the most recent round of funding. It's projected to be around $4 million for San Mateo County. There's also about $1.2 million coming from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. And this will go towards projects such as a BART, Samtrans shuttle, commute.org for congestion, for voluntary trip reduction, and then other projects that have not been determined yet at this time that will be determined before July 1st, before the fiscal year. That's about it.
Thank you, Councilman, and congratulations on being appointed to CMEC. And now to Councilman Fung, and congratulations on being appointed to CCAG Legislative Committee, but please go forth.
Thank you, Mayor Schneider. Yes, so happy to report that now the CCAG Legislative Committee has 2 members of the Millbrae City Council representing our jurisdictions, which is a 10-member organization. It's a very important committee within San Mateo County, and it shows that Millbrae is getting more representations at these important committees. So very happy to report that. And we're looking forward to have our first meeting for the year tomorrow night. And so any actions that we take and any resolutions that we agreed on will be reported back at the next council meeting. Also had a conversation with city manager regarding the economic development and alliance with SFO and subcommittee, trying to set some goals in the next week or so as to what this subcommittee should be able to do, figure out the strategy, how to work with SFO to bring more visitors into our downtown Millbrae, and how we can collaborate either with the chamber or regional chambers in trying to achieve better economic development for the city of Millbrae. Haven't had much meeting with some of the other subcommittees or youth advisory yet, but look forward to having first meeting with those. As far as the Sister City Commission, their discussion with regards to Dongguan City, I think they were looking to sign the agreement. When the original approval was done, it was with Nanchang District of the Dongguan City. If you compare in terms of size and population, and GDP, the city of Dongguan really is sort of similar to the jurisdiction of a county here in our state. And the Nanchang district is sort of like a city within a county in comparison, in terms of the size and number of residents within those districts. And Nanchang happened to be within the central district where the city administration office is. So it's similar, from an analogy perspective, you can look at it as San Mateo County, and where Nanchang would essentially be sort of Redwood City, in terms of size and geographically representation wise. So I think that is the district at which we will be signing the sister city agreement with. But I think they are going to bring forth these clarification to the sister city commission as soon as possible. And that's my update so far.
Thank you, Mr. Fung. City Clerk, I know we've got a new council member and getting him introduced to everything. The League of California Cities is hosting quite a few on Zoom workshops on homeless. I got the invitation. I sent it to the city clerk because I couldn't send it to both you and Annie Oliva, who are the subcommittee, but the next virtual workshop is tomorrow morning. City Clerk, I don't know if that can fit in Mr. Fung's work schedule, especially at the last moment, but if you could help the councilman find that information, there could be some important information coming out on homeless.
Will do, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, with that, Councilwoman Pappen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. FYI, the CCAG Ledge Committee meeting tomorrow has no action items, so we'll be reporting out well after that. But glad to have Councilmember Fung on the committee. Millbrae Television Committee met, and as noted earlier, they're doing a fantastic job of reaching out to the public during COVID for our city and other cities and special events. They are also still in the process of fundraising, so they need your support, and we hope you can continue to aid them in getting the word out about what a great job they do. Tomorrow is a Metropolitan Transportation Commission meeting. They will be bringing up what they always call the final Bay Area 2050 plan, but it consistently gets changed. And one thing our jurisdiction objected to was tolling on all lanes of 101. Somehow the staff at MTC has missed the fact that we support a study of that, but not necessarily the implementation of that as a strategy for reducing greenhouse gases, which we all need. We know we need to do, but there are viable alternatives, and there are very specific equity and discrimination issues if they were to implement tolling on all lanes. So that will be brought up tomorrow. The county representative for MTC has been changed. So Supervisor Canepa will be joining me at these meetings representing all the cities. Today, we learned too that Samtrans is moving towards electric buses. They have been trying out some that have not been as successful. Hopefully our new company Lucid might come up with some. That'd be good for us. There's state legislation which has been implemented, and everyone needs to reduce their greenhouse gases. What we're trying to do is really restructure public transportation so that will be safe and more efficient with seamless aspects moving forward here. All the transit agencies are in critical mode. They have received some funding to carry them through the end of last year. The ongoing services for this year, Caltrain is down about 96%, Samtrans, I think 86%, and not looking good because a lot of people are telecommuting. They are in communication to see which companies will be returning to work. Lots of wonderful equity programs are being enacted by Caltrain. So encourage people to look at that. This is really recreating transportation, and hopefully for the better and for more efficient transportation. For years, you know that we asked Caltrain and BART to coordinate schedules, which we were told was impossible, but now they're doing it. So we would like them to keep going in the right direction. And we are trying to make or communicate with the riders Right now, most of the riders are transit dependent. So we want to get more people back on transit. It has to be safe and it has to be convenient. And this is the mission ahead with very little funding, but hopefully we will be recreating transportation in our region, which is currently 27 different agencies. That's it. Wish us luck. Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, moving quickly. Again, congratulations to Councilman Holliber for appointment to CMEC, and congratulations to Mr. Fung on Legislative Committee. These were very competitive, and so it took some work on all parties to get there, but it's really great that we're getting Millbrae people on regional committees. I also see that we have staff person Jennifer Lim, city manager. I hate to step on your toes, but Jennifer is stepping in for Wan Yi, who is out on maternity leave. Good luck to Wan Yi and her family, and to the new baby. And welcome, Jennifer. She'll be one of our points of contact in administrative office there. There have been a flurry of SFO roundtable meetings, very technical. Hopefully staff will be joining me tomorrow, where we have a ground-based noise meeting, which is specifically looking at the impacts of low frequency noise and how vegetation may help the city of Millbrae and the other cities adjacent to the airport. So that is tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. I wanted to let you all know that with the Mayor Civic Coordinating Council, I know during COVID it was hard to hold those meetings. I've been working with Elaine Tran on the list and trying to make sure that we're being as inclusive as we can and inviting groups that I think have been working in Millbrae. Some are brand new, like ARC, but making sure that we're getting all the groups in there with the hope that we will have our first meeting in February. I'm in League of California Cities training, so I couldn't do a fourth Thursday anyway. But if there is a community group out there that operates or have people living in Millbrae and occasionally come and work with the city, we want to welcome you. And please reach out to the city clerk or to myself with the name of your organization, the contact, the phone number, and the email address. And you can find our email addresses on the website. But we will have a meeting in February. It's sort of a meet and greet. It'll be a Zoom meet and greet. I know most of our groups have had to cancel activities, but with the vaccine slowly rolling out, I want us to keep focusing on as much as we can do while we're still staying away from each other. But gosh, I hope maybe we'll have an art and wine festival. Maybe we'll have a fall, an autumn festival. Maybe the Japanese Cultural Festival will be able to go forward in October. We need to be planning for that now. Millbrae Cultural Arts Committee has reached out to the city to identify private property owners so that they can reach out to them and see if they would be interested in basically piloting our commercial mural project. Commercial murals were originally considered something that could not be done through MCAC because it's technically a use of city funds, but they're looking at pathways that we can still do it. I know Councilwoman Pappen will ask, will the art be approved through City Council? I honestly don't know, because it's a mural on private property. So that will be something for MCAC to bring back to us. If it has a use of city funds, the reason city funds are problematic, when you use city funds and paint something on a private property and a new owner comes in and paints it over, does it look like we have wasted city funds? So there are a few definite things to look at for that, and MCAC is beginning to work on that project. On the council subcommittees, the city manager and I have had at least one conversation to make sure that there is adequate staffing for each of our council subcommittees so that we can start meeting. And I have asked the city manager, if you look at all of our council subcommittees, does it make sense for us to meet every month, or maybe some meet on one month and some meet on the other month? So we're balancing out the workload. I am waiting for the city manager's recommendations. I am desperate to, believe it or not, get our fire subcommittee meeting going, because now is the time to plan for the fire season, which frankly started this month with a fire in, and they currently, well, now they are actually evacuating people from portions of the CZU fire, the fire in southern San Mateo County, because of mudslides. So this is the time we need to be planning forward. But we all know, and maybe the public doesn't, we're in a hiring freeze. When we lose someone like Shelley Ryder, we can't fill that position. So staff gets stretched ever thinner. but how we can all work together and keep us moving forward on subcommittees. Hopefully there'll be some updates to all of us on how that'll roll out within the next week or two. And I'm putting pressure on city manager. I can't read his expression right now. His head is turned down. I can't see if he's grimacing or smiling there. But we're trying to balance staff workload. And with that, oh golly, I don't have it in front of me. No one has asked me to close the meeting in memory, but we lost the gentleman who was El Super Burrito. And I have it there, and I apologize. I guess that's not good form. Maybe we'll close our next meeting in his honor. The owner and definitely El Super Burrito has been a good partner to the community groups and donating food for various events. And it is a great loss to him, to the city, and of course to his family. And I apologize. I had his obituary in front of me and I've misplaced it. So I apologize. Any other comments from council? From city manager? City manager, do you want to say anything about the rain and sandbags or anything like that? The next phase is expected to be heavy.
Leaky windows, anybody?
Yeah, so if anybody does need sandbags on Millbrae Avenue along the spur trail, so at the intersection of Elder and intersection of Elder and Millbrae Avenue, we have a sandbag filling station on the south side of the street on Millbrae Avenue at our spur trail. So easy access. There are sandbags and shovels there. So if anybody needs it 24/7, the sandbags are available.
And for the public to be aware that on nights like now, it's the first time we've had a heavy rain. If we get a number of them in a row, that's when our flooding increase, our flooding or potential increases. And I want to say thanks in advance to our staff and including the city manager who last year when this happened, spent most of the night out in Landing Lane neighborhood. So everybody look out for each other right now. I would like to close the meeting. And I'm still learning the formal way of saying it, but we're closing the meeting at 10:47. Thanks to you all. Be safe.
Good night.